2018 Georgetown School Committee meeting. If we could all rise, please, and say pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Oh, Barbie. Great timing. Sorry. All right.
We didn't even notice that you were walking through right there.
No problem. Okay. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm sorry I'm late. Okay, we will begin the meeting with approval of our consent agenda. I will make a motion to approve regular session minutes of October 12th, 2017, regular and executive session minutes of February 15th, 2018, public hearing, regular and executive minutes of March 1st, 2018, negotiation subcommittee session minutes of March 15th, 2018, executive session minutes of March 22nd, 2018, Budget and Finance Subcommittee minutes of April 6th, 2018, as well as acceptance of warrants 40P18, 42P18, and 41V18.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, we have our student rep Chloe Martins here. Nice to see you. We haven't seen you in a little bit. You've had a busy time with the Catwalk for Cancer and things like that, but you did a tremendous job.
Thank you.
Kudos to you and everybody that participated. It was really a fun night.
Yeah, that was a great event. We raised over $2,000.
That's great.
Goodness.
So,
Good
yeah,
for
so
you.
it was really fun. Everyone had fun. So I had fun too.
Good.
I was glad it was over off the stress, but it was really great.
A lot of work.
Yeah. But now we're looking forward to the senior showcase. That's the next thing we have to do. It's on April 26th. It's a Thursday, so we're getting sign-ups right now, and that should also be a fun event.
Can you tell me what that's about?
So it's the seniors. They sign up. They can do whatever they want to, as long as it's appropriate. But they either sing, dance, whatever. Like it's a talent show. But obviously we don't. There's no scores or anything. They just show off what they want to. But yeah, it's fun. We did it. We didn't do it last year, but we've done it the years before. So
What is that date again, Chloe?
April 26th.
The school committee meeting.
What time is it at? Oh, we have a committee.
Oh, okay.
At what time?
I'm not really sure.
6:30, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also spring sports is starting up, or they've been going for a couple of weeks now, and the teams are doing good, but we're going to have a lot of games next week during vacation,
Yeah.
which I'm excited about for vacation, but we do have 3 games, so it's going to be fun. But yeah, and the chorus and the band just came back from New York, and that was a really fun trip. We saw a lot. We saw the Statue of Liberty, and we went to the top of the rock, so that was really fun. I did sprain my ankle there, so
I was gonna say, yeah, I
Saturday
see
was
that.
a little rough, but it was a lot. I still had fun.
How was that handled on it?
don't know.
Did you have to go to the doctor there?
No, I just walked. It was fine.
She probably wrapped it up,
Further
right?
damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, that's
and
too
then
bad, but I did hear it was a lot of fun.
yeah, it was really fun. But now the nice weather is finally coming. Hopefully it doesn't snow again.
No,
But
hopefully
it's supposed to be
not.
65 tomorrow, so I'm excited. But that's all I have.
And then the prom's coming up soon?
Oh yeah, that's May 18th.
Yeah. Getting excited for
about
that.
that.
I hope the
That
weather's
Ipswich.
good.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Good. Well, thank you. And again, great job on the Catwalk for Cancer. Did an awesome job. And all the kids, they were phenomenal.
Everybody
They looked great.
gorgeous.
Yes.
And very handsome.
Thanks. Okay, is there anyone here from the public that would like to talk about anything on the agenda tonight? Okay. Okay, we have the DECA students. They could come on up.
Oh, I might take that note there. Okay.
Thank you. And this is Miss Ulrich. You're the new advisor for the DECA. Thank you for taking that on.
It's been a pleasure.
Great. And if you could just all introduce yourselves and tell us what grade you're in.
I'm Grace Boudreau and I'm a junior. I'm Serena Birkinshaw, and I'm also a junior.
I'm Ashton Fisher. I'm a senior.
I'm Christopher Robson, and I'm a senior.
Great.
Some of you have been with DECA from the beginning, right?
Yes, yeah.
Thanks for coming out tonight. So tell us how the event went. I see that you have your trophies, which is always great to see.
And very
Yeah.
accomplished.
Yes.
We have a variety of trophies. So the chapter this year was made up of 65 members, 52 of which competed at our district competition. And these would be your district trophies, this one. And that competition went really well. We had 34 out of the 52 move on, a 60% move on rate, which was pretty great for us. This year was also one of our biggest freshman DECA classes. I think we had close to 15 freshmen that joined DECA, so that was definitely a big plus for us. That's something we haven't seen in recent years. And then from there, we moved those 34 students on to our state competition, at which we had 34 compete, and we had 13 get top 10 finishes. And we now have 6 that are going to go to nationals, which is taking place April 23rd to the 26th, which is in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's great. Wow. And so who will be going to Atlanta?
I'll be going, and I believe we have one other senior and then a couple juniors, and we actually have a freshman that blew the competition away. His name Ian Kantorski. He ended up going to districts, getting first, then going to states, and then we had what's called the mini award session. So you're awarded, there's a medal so basically at the competition you do role plays and then you have a test score. And then they give medals away for first, second, and third in each one of those categories. And then the next day they have the grand award session where everybody gets their trophies. He got 2 first place medals in the mini award session and 1 second place medal. And then at the grand award session, he got a first place trophy.
Wow.
So
Good for him.
That's very impressive.
That's great. So how long have you all been participating in DECA?
I've been in 4 years. You've been
3
in
years.
3 years.
This is my second year. This is my third.
Third year? That's great. So how was the event in Boston? How did things go?
I thought it went really good. I thought our new advisor, Miss Elric, handled everything really well. We didn't have any issues or anything like that. Everybody was more than respectful to everybody at the conference, and I don't know if you'd like
Yeah,
to
they
say
were
something else.
wonderful, great representatives of Georgetown. We had
That's
a lot
good.
of fun. Yeah, and they were very successful and very professional. Great.
Now, prior to you taking on this year as the advisor, did you have anything to do with DECA, or was this all brand new?
All brand new. Yep.
That's a lot, but I know that it was difficult getting someone to take it on just
Yeah.
because everyone's so busy, but
Right,
it's
it's big.
great that
Timing was interesting.
it's great that you did do that because DECA is such a great program and Georgetown always does so well.
It's a great opportunity for all of them, so
Yes.
it's enjoyable, hopefully for everyone.
And it gives them opportunities that they could just never have anywhere else.
Exactly, yeah, it's a great program.
Yeah.
So
You guys
how-
are the, oh, sorry, Barbie. Can I think
So how many people will be participating in Atlanta?
We have 5 competing and 1 going to a leadership academy.
But in terms of like as a whole?
18,000.
Wow.
Wow. So you guys are the officers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think you should tell the committee a little bit about what you do as officers, because it's not just about the competition. These guys do a ton of work beyond just preparing for your competition. So maybe you could just tell us a little bit about the kinds of things you do in the chapter with the other students.
Yeah, sure. So basically, we organize meetings bi-weekly. We have weekly meetings with our officer team, but we have bi-weekly full club meetings, and that's where we'll get all our news out to our chapter members. We also have another avenue of news source, which is our Remind, and that's run by Ashton. He sends out all the reminds and all that. And then we also, throughout the year, we have a mentor program, which is us mentoring kids, teaching them how to role play, judging them, and trying to develop their skills so they can be the best they can at our competition.
I mean, there's a lot of additional leadership that they take on.
Right.
That no one ever recognizes because they don't necessarily know it. That's why I wanted them to highlight that, because, you know, they really do invest a lot of time in
Is this
making sure they're
something you'll
successful.
continue on through college?
I'd like to try to continue it on through college. I know there is a collegiate DECA. It's on a much smaller base. The high school division of DECA has close to 200,000 members, but the high school I think is closer to 80,000 members. So I know colleges across the U.S. do have a collegiate DECA chapter, so I'd like to continue it.
You know, and all the work you do helping to prepare our members of why we do so well. That's, you know, the role plays and the talking about them, giving them the wisdom of your, you know, your helpful tips from years past and everything.
Yeah, I think it definitely does show, because we're not the biggest chapter by any means as far as Massachusetts goes.
No.
I know Danvers has close to 200 kids. King Philip, which is down on the South Shore, has close to 600. And for us to move on at a move-on rate of 60%,
Right.
that's really impressive for a small school. So
I
we take
agree.
pride in that.
And a
should.
program
You
that is
should.
still relatively young.
Yeah.
You know, it really, I mean, right from day one, as you know, because you always get the reports, you know, a large number of children were very successful right off the bat, which said something. I think Mrs. Ryer, you know, needs to get a lot of credit for that initial preparation for the program. But, you know, when there was a question of advisors changing, right, and we were trying to figure out how that was going to work, these guys stepped right up. Like they, I'm sure, were concerned, but didn't show because they just kept on moving forward. So I do want to make sure that you get the credit for that, because it was a tough situation there for a little bit.
They made that transition really easy and were
Yep.
very helpful for me coming on as someone new. So the opportunity.
And it is important to remember that it wasn't that many years ago, there were 6 kids in the DECA club, and now there are 65.
Look at that,
I mean, and that, so that really, you know, again, needs to come out, that, you know, people have invested in it, not just the advisors, which we couldn't do it without you, but, you know, the students have invested so deeply in it that it just keeps getting better, and our kids keep performing well, so.
And we also have a lot of parent volunteers
Yes.
that go in as judges, which is a
Yeah.
fabulous opportunity. You know, that's just a great experience. The students are all so inspiring because they're creative, they're problem solving. They just take something, they look at it for 10 minutes and they roll with it, and they're just amazing.
Well, could you each tell us what categories you competed in?
Well, I competed in food marketing series.
I competed in business services marketing.
I competed in apparel and accessories marketing.
I competed in business services and marketing as well.
Wow. Or 30 minutes, depending on the
Right.
play, the role play.
Yeah, what's the difference between who gets in the 30 and who gets in the 10? Is it singles or doubles or teams? What is the?
So the singles, you have 10 minutes to prepare, 10 minutes to present.
Okay, that's what I thought.
As a team, which we did have a team that moved on from states to nationals this year, which was really impressive. They get 15 minutes to prepare and 15 minutes to present.
And there are some categories where you write a paper
Yeah.
ahead of time.
There's also what's called a written presentation, which is you write anywhere from an 11 to a 30-page paper, depending on your category, and then you present that. And then there's also what's called a hybrid, which is more of a smaller paper, but there's also a presentation aspect that goes along with it.
When I judged, that's what I judged.
And I know Ms. Jacobs was talking about how people do invest a lot of time. And I know one thing I'd like to highlight is the alumni base that we have. Even though we're only 7 years old as a chapter, we have a strong alumni base that comes back to judge, to chaperone. We had chaperones at districts this year that were past alumni. We had judges that were past alumni. And this is all the way dating back that we've had kids coming back. I think the furthest I've seen is 4 years, 5 years graduated that are still coming back every year to judge.
Yeah, it's important to highlight.
Yeah, that is nice too that they do that. Just-
People really believe in it.
Yeah.
And will you continue on as advisor? Are you hoping
We'll
to?
have to see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
It's gonna pass this year, right?
Yes,
So
exactly.
you'll be going to Georgia?
Yes, yep.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, I wish everybody the
Yes.
best. We are very proud of you. I know this program is great, and we definitely support it as much as we can. So I look forward to hearing how well Georgia goes, and I hope the weather's beautiful, which I'm sure it will be.
I think it'll be
Hopefully.
warmer than here,
Yeah.
is my prediction.
We're hoping.
too. Thank you, and I
Thank you
appreciate
so
you
much.
coming out tonight, too.
All right.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for allowing us to talk.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Move these around anyway.
Huh?
You can move them around if you want, it's up to you. But I didn't put them in order.
Okay, well, so, Credit for Life, Mary, you're here, are we,
Is Lisa
is
here?
Lisa coming?
She is coming.
Okay, so we'll wait, we'll move
Just go
around.
to- Yeah, we'll move around.
Okay, and, is Coach Desilets coming?
Later.
Later, okay.
They had a
Yeah, they had a game in Rockport, okay. All right, so we'll talk about the Disney trip. Okay, so we have Liz here.
Eric.
Your hat
Just
rings.
pull a chair up there. Okay, so you have the revised packet there.
Right. So let me just get that. So we have Mr. Blackman, correct?
Yes.
Hi, Liz.
How are ya?
you?
Hey, everybody.
And
I'm Stephanie Reel.
hey, Stephanie.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Stephanie joins us for the first time.
Okay.
Her daughter Gabby will be on the trip.
Okay, great. Okay, so tell us a little bit about what's going on, and this is for next year.
Yeah, the plan is for next April the 10th through the 14th, right? Which I've been told is the usual timeline that we have done that in the past. Obviously, it's really exciting opportunity for the kids. I would say the most frequent question I've gotten in my 2 years here has been, are we going to Disney? A resounding yes. It's really a unique opportunity for them because, you know, to be able to perform the chorus and band in such a fun environment that is so different from Georgetown, Massachusetts. It's really great because both groups, the chorus and the band, will get to perform. They also have really interesting workshops that they have. So chorus gets to go to a vocal workshop, band gets to go to an instrumental workshop. And I was told last year that the seniors last year told me it was you're in like a sound studio and you get to record a soundtrack for, I don't know if it was an animated thing or a movie, which sounds like a ton of fun. And obviously it allows us to combine, you know, curricular music elements with obviously fun Disney elements, which they're probably a little bit more excited about that than playing, but that's okay.
You get to walk down Main Street USA. That's pretty awesome.
Well, the plan is actually to bring the concert band, and I know they've done the marching band in the past.
Yes.
My thinking is we spend the most time on the concert band. We rehearse 5 days a week. It is absolutely no doubt our prize group of the instrumental music program, and as the director, I want to show the people the best we have. So we're going to be going down as a concert band. I'm not sure exactly the venue we'd perform. I think it depends on...
It would be in Disney Springs regardless, just depends on the group, the size of the group,
size
as
of
to
the
whether it's on the main stage or whether it's by the boathouse.
So yeah, we'd be performing the same venue as chorus.
Yep.
And it's just a really exciting opportunity. It allows us to perform more music than we would also as a marching band, more difficult music. So it's definitely exciting. You know, we're a concert band school, and I'm excited to be able to show the people, you know, what we've been working on all year, in the past 2 years.
All right. So you're thinking of possibly departing out of Manchester?
We are. It depends on the airline, actually, because JetBlue does not offer us, and Stephanie can speak volumes about this, doesn't offer us all the same amenities that Southwest will, including fees.
Oh, okay, like
Right.
luggage and things like that.
Correct. And because of the larger instruments, there will not be fees on Southwest, and they have more flights leaving out of Manchester that are nonstop. And they're willing to work with us as trying to get us on as one plane if possible, if not only two.
Okay.
So JetBlue is not as accommodating as,
Instead of 5.
yeah.
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 The last time it was.
So Southwest right now is just much more accommodating.
Okay. So the cost we're hoping it's going to be around 1,500.
Can we rephrase that? We're hoping the cost will be much less than 1,500.
Okay.
But until we have airline fees and all of Disney's 2019 estimates, we can't we know it won't be higher than
Okay,
1,500.
that's what I was gonna ask.
Shoot
But-
high so that you're surprised.
But
hopefully.
by
Nice
the way,
surprise.
by the way we figured, by the way that we've worked together, and she's figured in all the possible upcharges that Disney could do, or that flights have been averaging. We're hoping it's less than that. We don't anticipate it being more than that.
Okay, so right now you just plugged in like 500?
I'm sorry,
What
what?
is it typically?
For a flight?
No, like the Disney trip.
think it was
Oh, I
like
don't know.
1,200.
We've run between 1,200 or so.
Okay.
And really, that's where we'd like to get it down to, but that was 4 years ago, and it's tough to say.
Yeah, because they've increased the prices to the park and certain.
Right.
Oh, and jet fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should drive. So
Yeah.
in terms of the dates that
Mm-hmm.
are selected, how are those dates decided upon?
We went off the historical dates that it's happened for the best of my knowledge, like the last 3 or 4 trips have been the Wednesday through Sunday before vacation, so that people who want to travel down there and meet their kids and watch the show can extend their vacation at Disney before they travel back.
And people do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because I remember doing this when I was in high school, and we did it over the vacation.
Yeah.
Like the 5-day or.
You'll also see that if you do it over vacation, your price will be much higher than the
Flights,
1,500.
yeah,
Right.
flights get really
It's-
expensive.
It's almost doubled.
That, if you're asking,
It
that's
was
why,
over
why the
vacation.
missing
So that's
school,
why we do it
that's why.
before.
Yeah.
It almost becomes cost prohibitive.
So how much of the trip, if you were to do sort of work versus fun, that's the bad way to put it, but percentage-wise, what is learning, what is Disney? Like, what is music, what is Disney?
Their workshops are what?
Their
2
workshops are
hours?
between
2.5
2.5
hours?
to 3 hours
Yeah.
apiece. So there'll be 3 workshops. So 1 workshop for each group. Your course will be split into 2 because of the size, most likely. And then you have, between preparation and actual performance, each group has about another 3.5 hours of warming up, lining up. There's a lot done behind the scenes, which is kind of amazing. We become Disney cast members. So we speak to the Disney professionals, even on the days that the days that we do workshops, you all access to Disney cast members who are working with us. So I think the chorus workshopped with a woman who sang Ariel in Little Mermaid. So that's who we had at one time, and I don't know who the band had. I wasn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the kids described it.
I
they
wasn't
didn't
eligible
really
for
get
that
it.
one. And then, so you have the workshop days. You're at least 3 hours, start to finish, and doing it. And on performance days, you're another 3 hours because you're backstage. You're learning how they're lining up. You're learning how to get ready for performance.
Right.
Then you're performing in front of everybody. And then you're back again. You're doing kind of a wrap up, and then you're back to the hotels.
Right.
It's having a child that participated in it the last time. I just want to say thank you to you and everybody else that helps, because I know what an undertaking it is. You start a long time before right now to secure everything, and I appreciate that. Not to mention all the time that it takes to have the volunteers come in and check the luggages and all that. So it's a huge undertaking, but and you have big shoes to fill with Tracy Southwick, because she was just amazing. But I have no doubt that you will do a great job. I know you went last time and you kind of watched her, the flow of things.
Tracy Pitcher's also on our board. She's also a member of the Music Parents Organization.
As well as Rena.
And Rena Mullen is on our Disney Planning Committee, as well as on the Music Parents Board. Tracy adds immeasurable Disney experience. She went last year. She has worked for Disney.
Oh, neat.
So she brings that perspective into it.
Awesome.
So it couldn't happen without
Everybody.
So many people, right?
the core group and then all the parents who volunteer to be park chaperones.
Right. So can you tell me how many of the kids will participate, will actually go?
We have 179 eligible students on the books for next year. I can't tell you how many will go.
In the past, what's it been like?
166 was
Okay,
my
so
last trip.
it's like 90%.
I would imagine, yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Most of the people, how many kids?
It depends on
Yeah.
the count,
The people,
right.
most of the kids participate in this.
Yeah, in fact, I anticipate both the band and chorus getting boosts in numbers because all of a sudden they're very interested in being performers. So yeah, I would imagine most of the kids that are signed up for band and chorus.
Is this chorus, chorale, and a cappella, or are you going to allow all
Yeah, I
three
think
groups to go like you
The
did for New
chorus,
York?
they will all perform as the chorus.
Yes, but so they're all invited.
Yeah, I
to-
think it's
Oh,
just gonna
goodness,
be cool
yes.
Oh,
together.
that's great. Okay.
Just because you're in chorale and an upperclassman doesn't exclude you from going to Disney.
Right.
Okay. And the chaperones will be 10 to 1?
Yeah.
At least.
Yes.
In the hotel, most definitely.
Okay, so I've seen you've secured a few chaperones. How many more are you looking for?
Can I refer to the?
10? What do we need, 10 more?
Oh, 10 more? Yeah, it
8
looks like
more?
you
I
have
need
about.
one. I need 5 more.
5 more.
Okay.
That doesn't count.
The nurse.
I need, no, that's correct. 5 or 6 more, but it'll come from our board
Mhm.
and from people who show that they can work, because it is a work trip for us. Stacy,
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility.
Tracy can attest that we get about 4 hours of sleep a night. And I never saw outside the hotel except for the performances.
Barbie, did
Wow.
you go?
I did. Yeah, yeah. We extended our trip, so we
Right.
met him after it, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. The Main Street event was very quick, though. You know, like a
Very
couple of
quick.
parents actually missed it. They stopped at like Starbucks, and when they came out, they
Oh,
were
no.
gone. I'm like, they just
All the
went
way
by.
to Florida and miss it.
So the chaperones are not paying for their trip?
The hotel chaperones have historically not paid for the trip because it's not a fun trip for the hotel chaperones.
Yeah, they still.
I will post-traumatic stress disorder from the last trip. We're on call 24/7 from pretty much the night we check those bags
Yeah.
till we deliver you back to Georgetown.
So this is, if it's 166, 179 students, it's around 25% of the school. What's happening with the other, so that's kind of a meaningful impact on education for those 3 days. What's being done to make sure that just because they're not going to Disney, that they're not watching movies for the 3 days?
75% is still there.
Yeah, but that's a meaningful proportion.
I think Peter would probably have
Teachers
to.
are pretty
I
professional.
think Peter would probably have to answer that, right? Because you're not.
Yeah,
gonna
that's
know
not
what's-
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
you know, for whatever kids I had in my classes that didn't go, you know, you always leave assignments for them to
Right.
do. You know, a lot of my classes are performance based, so this guitar players better be practicing. When I get back, I want to listen to them. So yeah, there's going to be plenty for them to do. But yeah, I imagine a large chunk of the population will be in Disney those days.
We could just call school off.
Well, I mean, it's not that, but it's.
And are there scholarships for students who?
In the back of your
Qualify?
packet,
Yes.
there's a 3-page financial aid form.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just didn't, have a chance.
That's great.
Thank you.
Too.
It might be the last 3-4 pages of the last pages. We anticipate something different this year in that we want the students to be involved with designing the logo.
Oh, okay.
That's great. That's great.
That's cool.
So I think my last question is, I like the trip. I'm not. If this is, I guess my question comes down to, all the money is flowing through Georgetown Music Parents. And by approving it through the school committee, if there's weather, if there's anything, the superintendent sort of decides whether it goes or not. Why make it a school-sponsored program? Especially if, I mean, the checks aren't coming to us. So I have a question about liability, but also what's the advantage, I guess, of running it through the school committee instead of the Georgetown Music Parents
I was told I had to.
running the program?
And I do agree that that is how it should be because
So you guys can
Well,
not.
this is how you've always done it.
That is my
Right.
understanding. That
Right.
this is how I've always, you know.
Yep, and I do feel that it's definitely school sponsored because of how it is advertised and talked about in the class. Most of the things that are done at our schools in terms of like the luggage, things like that. The
preparation.
curriculum,
Yep.
you know, I definitely
gonna
see how
be
that ties in
under
because I know
class.
those workshops are really impressive. So I know Mr. Lucia and I have had an extensive conversation about it, along with the superintendent, and it is a school-sponsored. I don't even know how we could say that it isn't, other than the fact that the music parents have graciously taken on the position of collecting all the funds and things like that, so we don't have to get into the money aspect of it. But other than that, it's all done through the schools.
And
You know,
students are
it's part
expected
of
to
the school.
follow the
Oh, yeah, they'll be held
Oh,
held
yes.
to
Oh,
all the
yeah,
handbook
held to
rules.
discipline,
Yep.
that's a-
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have to sign a page that acknowledges the handbook. I've been in contact with Tracy Southwork, her sister's in the hospital down in Florida. So I'm not pestering her.
Yeah.
But we'll have all the same documentation that's been used before, if not more.
Including a release form, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So when it says that you were unable to secure insurance, why is that?
Because
Is it
we-
oh,
You mean for the trip?
yeah, just when you
Okay,
did the note.
the airline, because it is such a large group,
Yeah.
the airline has specific rules when it comes down to cancellations and insurances, and they
Okay.
do not offer it. Disney does not offer anything, and that's just Disney.
So, okay, so
So
if something occurs that.
Right.
it's
You
just-
know, 'cause
okay.
they all-
And people will be totally aware of that, parents.
Yes.
It's listed in,
Numerous pages.
I can't do the new document because I think the first page was 3 pages this time, but in the
Yeah.
parent information, it says specifically that everything is non-refundable after a certain point, after the September deadline.
Okay.
Right.
It's just non-refundable. There's nothing we can do about it.
Right. And as I recall, you have a pretty good meeting. You ask the parents to come and you talk to them. It's not face
We
to
hope
face,
to-
it's not just.
We hope to meet with them in May,
In May.
if there's time in May, and then we'll meet with them again in September.
Okay.
Before the flight has to be booked, because we'll need to know things like, are you flying one way or are you coming round trip
Right.
with us? And that we need to know before the October deadline to book the flights.
Right. Okay.
Well, because basically, you're only using the airline and Disney. It's
Correct.
not- You don't need any other transportation or anything like that.
Well,
We need buses
To go
to
to
go
To the airport.
to the
To
airport.
the airport.
then we need
And
buses.
those, and then the buses down in Disney, because the kids cannot go on the Disney buses because they are in uniform and holding instruments.
So for the band workshop.
So they
we
have to go behind the
We have to
scenes.
have private transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And for the chorus and band performances, we have private transportation.
Right.
Because they are considered at that point, Disney cast
Cast
members.
members.
And I know they also have to follow the Disney strict rules.
Correct.
In terms of their behavior, the way they dress, things like
Yeah,
that.
they want us to send pictures of exactly what their concert dress will be. They're
Right,
very
I
strict on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. Does anybody else have any questions about it? Anybody? No. Well, again, I want to thank you all for doing it. I know it's a big undertaking, but it's enjoyable for all. Are you going, Chloe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Been waiting for this for a while.
So Chloe, we actually intend to make it if it's possible, better trip for you by including some events that hadn't happened in the past. Historically, when we've landed, and then when we've had access to the parks, we see you when it's workshop or performance time. We're trying to get a dessert invitational in for you at Epcot. We're trying to get some group photos going on. Scott Jones will be joining us.
Great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we've set him up to travel with us.
That's awesome. It's gonna
And
be
he'll
great.
do a great job with photography.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he always does. Well, that's good.
Our major fundraiser for this is the auction this year. It's November 16th. I hope you all will join us.
November 16th.
The Friday night.
And do you know where you're gonna have it yet? Have you
It's the
secured?
Black Swan.
It is
Yeah.
Black Swan?
Mhm.
Okay. Everybody mark your calendars
That
for
right on the
that.
calendar, that's right.
Great. Okay, I will make a motion to approve the proposed band and chorus trip to Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida from April 10th, 2019 through April 14th, 2019, including 3 days out of school.
So moved. Second?
Further discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank
See
you.
you in Florida.
Thank you very much. All your hard work.
That's excellent.
Okay, so I saw Coach Desilets come on in, so why don't we talk to you about the donation?
And this is the paper he
Yep.
added.
How did you guys do today?
You look
We
awesome.
won.
Oh, great.
14-2.
14 to 2?
Wow,
JV
that's
won too.
JV won 18-0.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Big day for us.
Where was the game?
Rockport.
Oh, Rock.
And
Of
JV
course,
was
our
home.
longest trip of the year was
I
the
know.
night I had to be here.
Well, that's
so.
okay, it worked out perfect.
Yeah. that's
Hopefully,
okay.
we have a longer one to Worcester in June, right?
Worcester?
State final.
Oh, okay, yes, we will keep our fingers crossed for
Yeah.
that.
Fingers crossed for that.
Okay, so
So-
we have a nice donation.
Yes. So Georgetown baseball has approved $5,000. Georgetown softball $1,000, and the GAA $2,000
Awesome.
to put a batting cage system similar to the exact same one we have at the varsity field behind Pearlie. We want to put something like that at Pembroke for those three fields. So what we're thinking is going to go on that plateau between fields 2 and 4, and I had sent a picture. It kind of like blocked out where the flat area is on top there, and then blacked out where the cage would go. So it's not taking the whole area. They still have. We're going to put it towards the field 2 side, and leave room for spectator viewing on field 4. I know that had been talked about as part of that project.
Yeah,
People can
yeah.
sit up there with a
People
blanket.
don't, they sort of sit up on the hill.
Yeah.
They don't use it for sports. up
Yes,
there.
yeah. So that'll be a big asset for
Yes.
Yes.
youth baseball, youth softball, and the high school softball program. With the varsity practicing up there, they'll have access to that, to the cage.
Oh, that will be
Um,
great. I think
yeah.
there's been much discussion about how best
you
to
use
use
that.
that piece
Yep.
of land, and this sounds perfect.
The setup for it is great. You can have multiple kids hitting at the same time. It's very efficient in helping to run a practice. The summer camp will be using it too. The summer camps up at Pembroke will use that. So what we're gonna do is we got to put a stone dust base down for now, and then this summer, she just found out this week Bishop Fenwick is replacing their turf, and we're gonna get sections of turf for free from them and turf that area, so we don't have to worry about cutting grass around it and
Wow.
weed whacking along the netting. Everything will be turfed. It'll be clean.
And how'd you secure that? Just know somebody over there?
I think, yeah, someone in town works there, and we got word out, so.
Great. Okay.
So the only thing we were asking is, I had talked to Mike about it, since we're kind of working with the school on this, if he would dig 8 poles I can go up there, I'll coordinate with him to set up where the pole locations are. I know they have an auger. If they could dig 8 holes and set the poles in the concrete, and we will take care of the rest of the cable system and the netting, and put it up in the spring, take it down in the fall. It's a
I'm sure Mike was totally fine with that.
yeah. It's a commercial heavy duty grade batting cage that should last 20, 25 years.
Nice.
So it's a good investment, and it'll be a big boost to the program up there.
Yeah, the one at Pearlie is nice.
Yeah. Every coach that comes in is jealous of the setup we have there.
It's nice to have somebody
Where'd you get
jealous of
that?
something that we have.
Yeah.
No, that is good.
So,
Does anybody have any questions about it? No? Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the donation of a new batting cage for the Pembroke Fields.
So moved.
Second. Okay, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's great.
all right.
Thank you, and congratulations on your first 2 wins. That's good.
that's
It's gonna be a
More
good
to come.
season. It's
All
gonna
right,
be a good
thank you,
one.
guys.
Have a good night. Who? Where's mine?
Credit for life is better.
Okay, so we have Lisa and Mary here to talk to us about the Credit for Life
I apologize
event.
for being late.
Oh, that's okay, I was late too.
Talk in my mind.
Is there a chance that at the end we can show a video?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so how do we hook it up with that little thing?
All right.
right.
Well, I don't think we can right
There
now.
used to be a wire.
Yeah.
Because that's not working and that's not working.
Uh-huh.
The only way to, actually, you
I
can
can
play it
turn
off of
this
the,
around.
yeah, you can play it off of the TV. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
Fabulous.
Great. So I have heard such great things about this first annual, right?
That's
And I
right.
say annual.
Hopefully. First annual.
It really was a great.
I did get one.
I got
yes.
one too, yep.
Thank you.
Excuse me for walking this up.
I love free gifts.
You got one 'cause you were on the
I have one,
committee.
yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brought you gifts.
Thank you.
And I got one too.
This, you did get one.
Because I was
Yep.
there.
Oh, you did. That's right. We have one for you.
Yes. Thank you. I feel like I'm on Oprah.
Look onto your chair.
Fabulous. Nancy wasn't here then. Suzanne already got one.
You got one.
Thank you.
Oh, you did? Wow, we just can't give them away.
You have a whole audience out there. I know you get a whole audience.
Yeah, so hopefully it's the first annual. We held this Credit for Life Fair in January at the Pearly School in the gymnasium. And we just wanted to give you a little bit of the history of it and then show you the video of what the day went like. So this was a grant from the state of Massachusetts, State Treasurer's Office, an innovation grant that I became aware of through a professional learning community that I'm part of. We meet one Saturday a month. It's finance and economics teachers. And my colleagues at other schools were talking about this grant, and so my ears perked up. And anyway, that's how I found out about it. And they were talking about this fair, and I had been to one before for my son, and I thought it was really cool. So we started looking into it, started the application process through the state, and then I passed the baton to Mary.
Which I gratefully accepted because I've been to one of these fairs before and they were really a terrific experience. So we got the grant, which was fabulous. The way the grant works is hopefully you get it for 3 years. It may taper off in how much we get. They want them to become self-sustaining. So
That's what we have
that's
trouble
the
with.
component. That's the
Sustainability
component
of
that
things.
we will have to work on. So we'll be working towards that.
How much is the grant?
We got $5,000
$5,000.
and we spent just about most of it.
Okay.
There's not that much left over.
Okay.
No, but a lot of some of what we spent, we're going to be able to reuse. So that's good for banners and things like that. So I kind of worked on it a little bit over the summer, and then we started. There was a lot of background work that went into it, and we created an advisory committee.
Yes, you did.
Which Pam was on, and she brought her community connections, which we totally needed.
Great.
We also, Joanne Lout was also on that committee, and she brought her community connections and her financial background. We also got Ian Memhard from TD Bank.
He's great.
And he
Wonderful.
was awesome,
Great guy.
very helpful in bringing in people from TD Bank. We had over 10 people from TD Bank who came in, and they were the credit counselors for the kids at the end. And one of the things we asked the kids to tell us what they thought of the fair. One of the things that they loved the most was they talked to real professionals. So that was great. We met as an advisory committee 9 times from October to January, and before we had the event. And Lisa and I went to Haverhill to talk to some people who had done the event before. And we're sitting, chatting. They were our mentors. They said, "So when is your event?" And we said, "January 26th." And they went, like,
Like you'll never make it happen.
right. They thought, but we did, and it went, we felt that it really went well for first time. So we were very happy with the whole outcome. so.
And it's the entire senior class.
It was the
Because
entire
that
senior class.
loops into the financial literacy.
Right. It's a real live interactive budgeting simulation. So the students all got these budget sheets. For the first year, we gave them all the same salary, the average U.S. starting salary out of college, because that was all we could do the first year. We'd like next year to have it feed off of what they do in Financial Literacy 1, which is look into specific careers and what the salary is, so that it would be personalized for them next year when we do this. But we weren't able to do that for the first year. So I forgot what I was saying. What was the question?
Well,
oh my goodness.
So they all got this budget form.
Yes, they did. And then they went around, and you'll see in the video, they went to the different booths, and each booth had a banner above it. And they had to go get their housing and get their insurance and do their savings and investing. And I know what I was saying. The budgeting is a recap. We teach budgeting as a major unit in Financial Literacy 1. So in Financial Literacy 2, we have always done a recap of it because it's that important. So this was our interactive live recap, and I think they enjoyed it a lot more.
Yeah, I think they did more than the classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good.
So
There was a reality wheel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see a little bit of that.
Okay, yes.
The kids
Yeah.
loved that. Well, or hated it. It could go either
Exactly,
way.
it could have gone either way.
We tried to put real life
things
things
can happen to
in.
you, just
Yeah.
like in real life. You broke your leg. Oops, you have no insurance. So now you got to go back and get insurance, and it costs you $2,000 if you didn't have insurance.
And I had a friend come to me at the end, because I did checkout, and one of them, he broke his leg. He said, I don't know what to do with this.
Well, I was at the travel and tourism.
Oh, yes,
booth,
yes.
And so I worked alongside two travel agents, and a lot of the kids are like, I can either take a vacation or eat.
You can eat on vacation.
This is the banner that we received from Next Gen Personal Finance.
Yeah.
We're a gold standard
They're a
school,
gold standard school.
because we teach financial literacy for requirement for the semester.
It didn't used to be the case. It was an elective, and it wasn't taken by many students.
We've known from our community this whole time, so it's like comfortable talking all of them. We're all comfortable. And it's all helpful, like this information. I've had my eyes open to a lot of new information this whole time. Like what I will see, what I won't see, how much it'll be. It's a lot of surprising information that'll be useful later on down the road.
I really enjoyed it. I always thought that I would be able to do a lot of the things that I do now that my parents pay for, but now I'm realizing if I only have one income, there are a lot of costs and expenses that I never thought I'd actually have to pay, so it's really an eye-opener. I really like it.
It's pretty enjoyable so far. Although I've realized that I'm already in crippling debt, but that's fine.
Learning a lot. I started with like what I think is like most important to me, and then I just went all around. I didn't really have a specific order. It was really difficult making the decision about how I would pay for college, whether I wanted to pay like kind of more like every month or pay for like a longer period of time and pay less. It was pretty hard to make my decision, but that's what I would say too. Yeah, that's been the hardest so far.
I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful opportunity.
We gave tickets.
To learn about budgeting and finances. And,
Gave tickets.
I really wish we had something like this when I was in high school. Well, hopefully they're not going to react too badly. I think it's part of the fun. We all
Yes, he
went out and gave
especially with the school winter, a lot of people are experiencing higher electric bills and pipes burst and things like that. So I try to look at it in that aspect, which is an unexpected bill. It was pretty well until the speeding ticket, I guess. It shocked you. Is that going to throw you for a curveball in your budget? It might, yeah.
So we are the overseers of the fair. Got a grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to run this fair, and we've been working on it since September. And this is the culmination of a lot of work, a lot of meetings with volunteers on the advisory board, and we're really thrilled with how it's come out.
I think the kids are having a wonderful time. They're very engaged and involved. Many are surprised that they're over budget, and they want to skip some booths so that they can have a little extra money.
There was the wheel.
everyone got two spins on the reality wheel. Some were positive, some were negative. So some added money to their budget and some took away. Many were dependent. Oh, I want to show you all those volunteers.
Yeah, there's a lot of volunteers.
A lot of people who
Lot.
made this happen.
We have about 40 volunteers?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, then they all had lunch.
Yeah, and then we had lunch for them there. Some schools go off-site for their fair. I know the one that I had been at was at Northern Essex. That's where Haverhill has theirs. But that's busing now and, you know, more expensive, so.
That's a perfect location. It seemed like it worked out great.
Yeah. We think it did. Some of the students thought it was a little too crowded, but
Yeah.
I thought it worked out
Lunch
very
was a little
well.
crowded, but, you know, they were chatting away, you know.
Yeah.
What happened was, they all went to one side of the room.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
we keep saying, oh, we'll go over there to that booth, there's nobody over there.
Right.
But it was really interesting, so I think it was some of the credit counselors, and some of the things that they figured out, they'd say, no, Mrs. Lyon, we have to get the important things first, we have to get our housing and our insurance. I'm like, okay.
That's good.
That's good.
And
So-
others thought they spent too much money on their personal care, and then they went over and said they had to downsize their housing because they wouldn't give up their personal care. It's really pretty funny to listen to the way they were talking.
Right, so they really had to make choices, and if they'd made a bad choice, they had to go back and adjust it. So they loved it. They really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was.
So then you had lunch after? For everybody? You had Subway?
We had Subway.
We had Subway delivered, just as something sort of special for the students and to wrap up and let them process with each other in a different environment.
Right.
And it did, you know, not that the food was fancy, but it was a special
Right.
thing for them. So it was very nice. And the food services in the morning brought fruit and muffins and coffee for all the volunteers.
Oh, that's nice.
So
Yeah.
that
I
was
see
nice.
Margaret raising her
appreciated
hand.
I think this is awesome, absolutely awesome.
Oh, thank
It
you.
reminds me of the Life Game.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Was there like a recap at the end where students had a chance to find out, okay, who's a millionaire?
They were given $39,000.
This year, they all had the same amount of money to spend.
But even after life experiences, didn't they end up in different places?
They had to check out, and they had to balance.
Yeah, it had to be a zero-based budget.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that's why they
so
had
we
to
would
give
send
up
them back if they
housing or
weren't balanced.
beautification or.
Right.
Yeah.
To
Right.
make different
It really
choices.
was a great day.
How many pegs were in the car at the end of the thing?
That's right. That's right. Yes.
That's good. What do you want to say about it? I know you played a big role in it.
Oh, I just think it's absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful thing. I mean, it's a really important skill that students need to have when they go out into the real world, is some idea of how they're going to budget and just think ahead of time about what are the consequences if I fall under. But I was just wondering, is that on YouTube yet? Or
It's on the website.
It's on the school website.
It's on the school website.
I should put a link to Facebook.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, that's a great idea.
We can do that.
I don't.
idea. Yeah, but I did have one.
I didn't
student who
publish
came
it to
me
YouTube.
with
No.
a broken leg, and he was just so upset. He said it's $2,000, and I said, well, what kind of insurance did you have? What kind of insurance did you get? And he said, I'm not sure. I said, okay, well, why don't you go back to the insurance table and just talk with the folks there about your insurance coverage.
Right.
And he came back to me, and he was so happy. He said, I chose the most expensive, the highest level health insurance, and so it's all covered.
Oh,
and I'm like, that is great. What a great, awesome choice you made.
Because we teach them about deductibles, co-insurance, and so to see the ramifications of that when they spun the wheel, well, what type of insurance did you choose? And then the fallout from that.
So a lot of this was leading up to their choices, and then it should transcend at some point in their life.
Yeah, and there was not an option, so they had to do each booth. That may be something that we change next year. We got a lot of feedback. We asked the kids to give us a lot of surveys. They did a reflection back in class, a written MLA reflection for paper for us, and we had breakout discussions. But putting money in towards savings is never going to be an option. It's always going to be required, and we preach that constantly in class. But some of the other categories, they made a good point that a lot of people don't have cable TV anymore.
Right.
And
So we
we
don't wanna
had
have
like
to-
a cable booth.
Netflix.
So
Right.
that
Yeah.
wasn't something that
They could buy
we thought
different
of.
ranges of
Yeah.
plans, but they didn't want to have to buy it, and we said you had to. They didn't all want to donate to charity, and we made them all donate to charity. So maybe we could, I don't know, change it to you have to give this much time. What was the other one they didn't want to do? There was another one. Oh, they didn't want to take a vacation.
Yeah.
They didn't want to take, because that was too expensive.
Because they typically would come at the end,
Yeah.
and I have no money left. I just,
Right.
you know, and try to explain, well, to be well-rounded, you need to work hard, but relax, and so.
Right, that's funny.
But,
And one of the biggest stressors for me, because it was one of my jobs, was getting the volunteers. We literally had volunteers coming and going the night and day of the event. But we also did a volunteer survey, and all but one said that they want to come back. And I actually got an email from someone in the community who we didn't reach out to, who said, I want to be a part of that next year. The volunteers loved it. And this I will say, we had more than one volunteer tell us that the students were awesome, that they were polite, that they looked people in the eye, they said please and thank you, and were extremely respectful. I was so proud of them. They were. They were awesome. So that's
nice.
just so good to hear. You know,
Yeah, that is good to hear.
you know, as a teacher, you feel like they're kind of your kids too, a little bit, and so it was really, really wonderful to hear that.
That's
And they were.
And Joe Esposito, one of our former
Oh,
students,
yes,
came
that was so
actually,
great.
in his career, actually was there, and that was wonderful to see.
Yes, he's working in finance,
Yeah.
and he was great. He called me 3 or 4 times. He just wanted to make sure that he was ready, and it was great. It was really good.
And all of that reach out to the community. I mean, the advisory board was just
Yes, essential.
Couldn't have done it without.
essential for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So that was.
Yeah, you met 9 times, that's a lot of.
And then they'd leave and go and
Well, these.
network and find the people and.
Right.
The work. I mean,
Well,
did
thank you
all
for
of the
looking
work,
into the
so-
grant and securing that, because
Took a
that's not
lot.
always an easy task to be approved for those grants. So thank you for that.
And all the details they did.
there was somebody visiting that wants to bring this to their school.
Oh,
And
yes,
it-
they work.
And,
Mhm.
you know, so they were just very impressed with what they saw.
That was the Whittier Tech people,
Yes, that's
yeah.
right.
So Haverhill sort of mentored us, and in the PLC, a business teacher from Haverhill is in it, as well as one from Whittier. And so the people that were from Whittier were coming that day to observe, and I said, wouldn't you like to help out?
Yeah, we need some more volunteers.
Wouldn't
People
you like
thought
to
that.
interact with
Yeah.
our fabulous students? And so they were like, sure, put us to work. And they did. So theirs is coming up shortly. They're having theirs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's good.
That's good. I heard great things about it, so thank you.
Good. You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you. A lot of
We
work
loved it.
on top of everything else that you already do.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it, and I'm sure the kids did too.
They did, and that was great, because you just don't get a lot of appreciation from the kids.
Yes.
And we did.
know.
I know, I mean, you know, but we
Present
did.
company
Parents
excluded.
do.
I know. So we really are hoping we can
Claire's
figure out how to make this an annual event.
Right.
Um,
Chloe, you'll be doing it next year.
We'll be working on that.
Fingers
Thank you.
crossed, we'll get the grant again.
That's
you.
right.
Thank
We
you,
still have to
ladies. Thank
do
you.
all
Thank you
that.
very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have the vertical team here. Colin, want to come on up?
Just if we thought of it,
And-
we should have told certain groups to come at certain times, right? So they didn't have to wait. But
I know.
lesson learned, right? Sean will be the.
Evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you for waiting.
I know,
We-
thanks
we
for
had
coming out.
You know, we had missed some meetings, so that's why the agenda was so long.
Well, yes, I want to thank our coaches and teachers for helping me out tonight, present some of the great work that we've been doing in the vertical teams. And really the recurring theme for all 3 teams that you'll hear today is the work that we've been doing has been largely focused around adjusting to new frameworks, new standards, new expectations, and that kind of all culminates in a brand new assessment that all of our students are taking now with the Next Gen MCAS. So there was a lot of work to be done on that front to make sure that we were prepping our students as best we could and making sure that everything was aligned vertically, so one thing leads into the next, and there's a smooth transition from year to year, and we're preparing our students so that they're familiar with what they need to know and what they should know and how they should be practicing it and how they're assessed on it, which is kind of what we've been focusing on in the English Language Arts vertical team. So what you have here in your packet is just a small sample of some of the writing rubrics that the vertical team has produced. Starts with the kindergarten writing rubric for opinion writing. And I'll just give you a quick background of where we started and where we are now. There were some draft rubrics out there from a few years ago that were aligned to the new ELA frameworks and standards that were published a few years ago. And those got kind of put on the back burner while the teachers were working on adjusting to their model units and working on guided reading and small group instruction for reading. And this was as good a year as any, especially because it's a writing goal for Pembroke, or the school improvement goal is writing for Pembroke, to really look back at those rubrics and see what we could make out of them. My first thing that I noticed was that they were very busy. All three modes of writing were on one page, and it was not very user-friendly for a teacher or a student or a parent or whoever was going to be using that rubric. So I tasked the team with picking those rubrics apart and making them easy to use, making them standards-based, making them align to the new MCAS rubrics that we finally had some student samples of. So we started the year off with looking at some of the release samples and seeing how they scored on MCAS. Now we could translate that to our own rubrics. And then the team was off and running, and they did a phenomenal job in meeting together in the vertical teams monthly, bringing those back to their grade level teams, using some of the grade level meeting time that they have to work on these rubrics. There was some release time. I'll pass it to Kate Maureen if there's anything that they want to add, because they were more the boots on the ground for those teams.
I would say that we had time for an extended grade level meeting, which we looked at the writing trajectories, the units, and we also spent time on these rubrics to really give teachers enough time to really have good discussions about the language, what the 3 is the meets the standard, the end of the year standard. And so we sort of start there and then go up for exceeding that consistently and down to progressing and beginning. So I think having that chunk of time was really beneficial, and it sort of propelled us through the year to kind of get the 3 modes accomplished.
So this is, again, a work in progress, and I asked Kate Maureen just to send me, so you didn't have a packet that was this big, just a few different samples. And I think where most grade levels are right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is of the 3 modes of writing, opinion, informative, and narrative writing. Most grade levels have revised 2 of those 3 modes of writing, and the goal is for the remainder of the year to have all 3 modes of writing with a new rubric in place, so that next year we can really take the next step, which is then beginning to implement and use these rubrics in our writing units of study. And there's a lot that goes into that, which first would be understanding how teachers are using these rubrics, how they're presented and distributed and used for daily instruction with students to guide lessons. And then when it comes time for assessing students with these writings, using a student writing protocol or a student work protocol, so that there can be some calibration between grade level teams and vertical teams, so that everyone's on the same page as far as, okay, we're talking about kindergarten introduction for opinion writing. Here are all my student samples. How did you score it? I scored it a 3. You scored it a 3. You scored it a 2. You scored it, and really just have that calibration so that everybody can be on the same page, so that we're producing consistent scores for students, so that everyone's on the same page as far as what students are doing really well with and what they need to improve on.
So Colin, tell me how the process is for the vertical teams to meet with the grade level teams? Like like how often is that done? What length of time do they have to actually delve into the work that they're doing?
Yep. So it's different for each team, but the vertical teams meet monthly, and one of my goals for the end of each meeting is to have kind of a next step, or what's the responsibility for everyone. And the next step, while we started this work, was let's just work with your team first on deciding what rubric you want to work on first as a grade level team. Then once we did that, we did some scoring sessions looking at the old MCAS data. Margaret is wonderful to work with, and I was able to come into a few of her grade level meetings where this was the agenda for that grade level meeting. There was also, I think because of snow, we missed a meeting, which was a kind of a blessing in disguise because it allowed me to say, we didn't meet this week, but take the hour that we meet for and find some time in the next couple of weeks so you can have a little bit more work time with your grade level time. So it's really flexible and fluid, and I can't thank the members of the vertical teams enough because they volunteer their time. It's an extra commitment on them, and they are also so willing to take on that small leadership role within their grade level and say, hey, we're working on this in vertical team. Can we spend some time to work on it? So it's been great.
Good. So do you have a representative from each grade level?
We have a representative from each grade level at Pembroke, and the department chairs from the middle high school helped me out as well, although the middle high school was just swamped with NEASC for the beginning part of the year, so we didn't see that much representation from the middle high school. And Kate is our rep for the kindergarten team, but we've got pre-K to sixth for the ELA team. We've got a really good representative, and a few grade levels have multiple people that join in.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good to see that.
So we'd be happy to answer any other questions you have about the process, about the rubrics, about how it aligns to.
And Kate and Maureen, because they're also coaches as well as specialists,
That's right.
There's a coaching component, right? So sometimes what happens when you produce documents, people say, oh, this is very nice, and then they go about doing what they know they have time to do, right? So the fact that this embedded support is very important, right? Because then it's almost assured that people are going to be asking questions that are comfortable coming, and they can organize workshops that they have with their grade level teams around things like that. So I think it's structured in such a way that it goes from top to bottom, but in terms of the levels, right? The whole system's working on writing, right? Right. But then it's vertical teams, grade level teams, and then coaches that embed the support. So I think that's why it works, because there's a deliberate structure.
And the other great thing about having these two coaches is, since they see multiple teams in lots of different capacities, they were able to see what worked really well in like a third grade rubric and say, I would love to use that same language for our kindergarten or first grade rubric, and pull some of that language down. And they are seeing things from multiple angles and are able to see what fits and where the puzzle pieces align, which does nothing but make it more vertically aligned so that everything is working well with each other.
In the budget process every year we talk about what would we like to add. And we always say we like to add, whether it's reading specialists or coaches, because it is very difficult to juggle, right? On one hand, it's good because you're practitioners and you practice what you preach. On the other hand, there's always this tussle between, how do we find the time to do both well? And so that's always on our list of things. Like if we have money to add anything, we always talk about adding interventionists or coaches, because it is important.
It is important. I do like the verbiage that you've used in these.
They worked hard on that.
Yeah, I think it looks great. It's interesting to me just to see the different grades, what they're doing. Like whether it's the narrative for grade 1, I'm like, wow, and even kindergarten, wow, they were actually writing
Looking at
about
that, like, can you actually write?
And so what would a teacher give, like, for an opinion, like for a kindergartner? What would they say? Like, Do you like the color red or?
Well, so the kindergarten
Yes, I do.
team, they have a lot of opinions, by the way, as you know, as you know.
You might not want to write about them, but they have a lot of them, right?
So one of the units of study in kindergarten is an author study, and the author is Mo Willems.
Okay.
And he, if you're familiar, he does the Elephant and Piggy, he does the pigeons and the Nuffle Bunny. So they get exposure to those 3 different series. So they read 3 books within each series of the same author. After each series, they say what their favorite book is in that series.
Okay.
And then after reading the 3 series, they say, what's your favorite series and why? And so they're thinking all along, what is their opinion and what do they like, and they talk about it, and they love the books. Absolutely love the books.
I would love to see some samples of that.
I was gonna say, I would
Just
love to see
because
some
it's,
writing samples.
especially kindergarten, because I'm just amazed at how much these kids can do. I was always one of those people like, oh, don't rush it, but I get what full day kindergarten does. You know, it really is amazing to see their
progress too.
This is all based on the standards, so this is the expectation.
Yeah,
For
right.
these students, so that's
Well,
what the rubrics
It's
are.
funny because I've been in a kindergarten classroom the last couple weeks, and it is amazing
Yeah.
to see the well-oiled machine and the level at what the kids are doing.
Right.
I mean, we've all talked about kindergarten's the new first grade, but it really is when you see what the kids are doing.
Wow.
Yes, pages. Some children are ready to write pages and books, stapling books, and to see them from the beginning of the year, right?
To the end, yeah,
to
the
end is
progression.
absolutely incredible. And then to see where they go. So Maureen and I are so lucky to be also in all the classrooms, so we can see the progression of, so an opinion starts here in kindergarten, then how it's built upon in first grade and second grade and beyond, right? So we see
and
it
how
as-
more descriptive they get as they get older.
Yes, yeah.
That's great.
So it's, I think we're keeping it very appropriate developmentally and also making them feel successful as writers at each grade level.
That's so important.
We're trying hard
Because
to do that.
writing is so important, and, you know, just giving the kids the confidence to do that is just so important.
And they use a workshop, they use a
Right.
workshop model, so it's not, you know, it's, there's a mini lesson
Mm-hmm.
based on what you want students, and sometimes they use a book to introduce it, you know.
Or model
this is
writing.
model it, right? But then children can work at their own pace, right? So, and they get coaching along the way, you know, you look at what they can show you they know, and then you might cater, a teacher might then go and sit down and have a conference with the child and suggest, you know, that they look a little more at this or that, and so it really is a nice, and they get to share their work with each other, which is always nice to get feedback. You know, even at kindergarten, you get feedback from your
I'd love to hear the feedback.
Peer review.
So,
even kindergarten.
yeah. So in kindergarten, first and second, we say give 2 stars and a wish. So a star is something that they noticed or liked, you know, and it starts very basic. I liked your words, or I liked your picture, and then the wish is something they wish they knew still. So we're already building in sort of this revision
Okay.
in primary grades, so that I wish I knew this. So they're thinking, if I say this, are they gonna? I should write that first before I go and share that. So
Right.
do little things to get them to
That's great.
get ready. Yeah.
Yeah, I love writing.
Yeah.
I do. I love to see that we're, you know, because there was a time that we
Oh,
noticed,
absolutely.
you know, that it wasn't up to what it should have been. So I'm so glad to see that it's, you know, at the forefront.
And the expectation for MCAS has certainly changed in terms of what students are expected. So right now, which was another catalyst for why we wanted to take on this project now, and hopefully by this time next year, I will be back here and I will be showing you all of the exemplars that we have put together using these new rubrics to have some really concrete examples of here's how we use these rubrics and here's how we use them to score accurately for all of our students.
That's great.
But we might be able to get some student samples, right? You know, take the names off of, you know, but it would be interesting for them to just see, we just make a couple of copies if you wanted to see them.
Even think if some of the kids want to come in. You know, we've done that. Remember when we
You
had
do
the
a writing
kindergarten?
lesson with
Well,
them?
remember the kindergarten kids came in, they shared their poems, or,
Oh, yeah.
and they loved sharing
They
it.
did.
Even
Yeah.
if-
Yeah, it was fun to see
I
them.
I would love that.
And we'd move them to the front of the agenda.
They are very good.
Yeah, we-
they gotta be in bed by 7:30.
They're very good pigeon drawers.
Well, they like seeing themselves on TV, so when they figured it out, they were just sitting there like this, and they weren't doing.
That was funny.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
But that's great. I'm very impressed. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, ladies and Colin.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. I'll stay here.
And
Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you for waiting.
I know, I appreciate that.
So now, who's next, John?
John, yeah, we'll do. I think
Yeah.
it's ELA Math Science in your packet.
Yeah,
At least
it
that's how
is.
it was in
Yeah.
mine, so just stay there. So, John Crossman's here, our math coach at Pembroke, and in your packet, what you have is, again, I didn't want to overburden you all with paper, so you have one grade level's math trajectory taken from the DECA framework, and then the last few pages is our own draft trajectory using the math program that we use, which is Everyday Math. And what John and I have been working on with a smaller team this year, and hopefully in the last few meetings of the year we can bolster those numbers in our math vertical team, is what we've been working on is looking at the units of study that are in Everyday Math, looking at the new what to look for guides that were published by the Department of Ed at the beginning of this year, which gave kind of the key standards that students really must have mastered by that grade level, and seeing how our program and how those guidelines line up, or in some cases might not line up as well as we would like them. And John was great enough to make this trajectory where we can kind of spell out how the year looks, and as the team fill in the gaps of where things may be missing, or what we may need to reinforce, or what we may need to take that was maybe a tangential lesson in Everyday Math and pull it in the daily curriculum as something that we really need to focus more on because it is a priority from the state.
Right.
And that last column there is really just that standards not addressed or standards in need of reinforcement, and that's what we want that feedback from the teachers as far as what do we need to do more of in terms of that unit, that standard, to really make sure we're hitting everything that we need to hit. John's been great in finding supplemental resources, both for intervention for students and enrichment for students that want to take it to the next level. John, do you still go to your monthly math meeting?
You mean through the
DECA?
Yeah.
They haven't been having them.
You were doing it all year last year?
Yes.
But anyway, John's been a great resource to send teachers, here's a great website that has all, by standard, here's some enrichment activities that you can try with your students. So the work here is really just aligning our Everyday Math curriculum to the priorities of the state, and getting students prepared for the new types of math that they need to be able to show proficiency with.
And why this is so important is you're never going to find a curriculum that's 100% aligned to the standards, and the standards keep changing, so that makes it even more difficult. And people don't usually have the budget to be changing textbook series like every other year when the standards change. But Everyday Math is particularly challenging because it's a different kind of text. It's called a spiral curriculum. So to Colin's point, the state says students by second grade have to do this. They have to know it. Spiraling curriculum teaches it, reinforces it, but it doesn't say this is the focus of this grade. And so this is an important activity in order for teachers to feel like they can trust the spiral, right? Because they know that there's places where we're inserting things that really give the appropriate amount of focus. So it isn't an easy task with that curriculum.
No.
Because many curriculums are not spiraling. They're sort of, you teach addition in first grade, subtraction in second grade, long division in fourth grade, but it's not the cycle. It's not how that works in Everyday Math. So there is a bunch of work that these guys really needed to do to make that make sense to the teachers.
Yeah, I was going to ask that specifically about Everyday Math because when my kids were in school, that's when it was introduced.
Yeah.
And I know there were a lot of different critics out there about it.
There still are.
Yeah.
Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what is your take on it? On
Well, Colin and I have had this discussion many times.
Yeah.
And before we had everyday math, it was, well, you know, we teach fractions in September. How are they supposed to remember that if they see it in September? How are they going to remember it for them cast in May?
Right.
Right. Good point. So now it's
It comes back again.
yeah, and then with the spiraling, it does come back, but it's not as sometimes it's not as explicit as teachers would like it to be.
Yes.
Okay.
So they fill in the gaps
Right.
by, you know, this.
Yeah.
I mean, we found, Margaret and I were looking, there was an issue, I don't know, it was first grade or second grade, and it was with money or coins, and we were frantic. I was like, well, it's second grade, our first grade standard, the nickels, and I couldn't find it, she couldn't find it, so I'm like, what? I opened up the standards. The reason why it's not in everyday math is because everyday math was a national program. The nickels portion was strictly Massachusetts. So we couldn't find, so that's one area we had to supplement.
So how did, so then you had to then go in and make your own?
Well, I don't know if.
Move it to where it belongs.
Yeah, the second grader, yeah, they had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's
interesting.
that's a perfect example of kind of
Yeah.
why this,
Right.
why we would like this to be
Needed, yeah.
as kind of concrete as possible,
Right.
because we know that it's a program. It's not a curriculum that you just start day one
Right.
and you do it until June whatever, and your kids are good. It's a program that you use, but you still need to know where the gaps might be.
Right.
And the other thing that we're looking to do for next year is bring back some everyday math training for teachers, because it has been, we have a new version of everyday math that is a little different from what teachers were last trained on, and a lot of staff members that weren't, in the school for that first training. So they've been working with a curriculum that they haven't really had a lot of professional development on. So we're looking at getting some consulting in from everyday math to help us with some of this work, help teachers with some of their everyday questions, do some lesson modeling or some just Q&As or some observations, just to make sure that we're providing the support for teachers in math that they have certainly expressed to us that they need.
Oh, that's good.
Well, the new everyday math has aligned a little better with
Yes,
the
they
Common
have.
Core.
They
Yes,
have.
Yes.
definitely.
It was, they're aligned to the Common Core. Common Core is a little different than Massachusetts, just
Right.
because
Right.
of course it is.
Yeah, we have some additional.
But I think the
Exactly.
standards
Right.
are, the revised standards are more consistent with Common Core
Right.
than the old standards were.
Yeah,
so.
a lot of the naming conventions you'll see it under framework standards are the same naming conventions of Common Core.
Right.
Just the language within those standards are a little different because Massachusetts has added some language in it.
Well, that's great.
So that's been our work for math.
Yeah.
Thanks,
you.
John,
All right,
for
you're welcome.
It's nice to see you.
John
I see-
has the same, we have the same challenge with John. John also sees kids.
Yes.
So
yes.
he does this at the same
Right.
time, but, he's helping teachers.
So you're an
with things.
interventionist
He
and-
runs an intervention groups.
Yes.
And in addition, he does, the work with Colin on math. That's where, so it's the same challenge. That's why we always ask for interventionists, we say in reading and math, because
I
it's
know.
definitely, these guys do
We
yeoman's
appreciate
work.
the,
thank
the
you.
amount of time that
Oh,
you
I enjoy it.
put in to
Yes, you
help
do.
our kids. I'm sure it's not easy,
No.
Oh, it's a piece of cake.
That's a positive attitude. We like that,
I'd
John.
like to hear that.
Yes.
Thank you for being
Yep.
here, too.
Thanks, John.
Great. I know, thanks for coming out tonight.
No worries.
Hours drive. Are we done?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He lives in Marlboro. Yeah, he lives far.
Is he really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, Monica.
Monica, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Good.
So Monica's here to help me talk about some of the work that the science vertical team has
have been
done
busy,
this
busy,
year.
busy
Yeah,
this
this has been a busy year. We've got a lot going on with a new science program and curriculum in the elementary school. The middle high school, they've been doing a lot with trying to become more STEM focused, and the science and math departments have been working together on using some new technology from Vernier, which has lots of, it's well above my head, so I won't even try to explain, but Cerise Cawthron and Lisa Reed have been working hard with their departments to have more integration in that respect. But the main priority for this year so far from the vertical team in science has been figuring out what these science and engineering practices are and how they apply vertically to our students. And just to give a little clarity on what science and engineering practices are, SEPs, is you have your general content-based standards in science, your life science, your physical science, and your earth science, as well as these SEPs, which are meant to reinforce the idea that we want our students to be more scientifically minded, think like scientists, act like scientists, produce results, and argue like scientists do. So this came from the next generation science standards. It's made its way into the most current version of the Massachusetts framework. And there are 8 practices that our students should have explicit experiences with throughout the year. That's not to say they need to be doing all of them all the time, but there does need to be places in our curriculum where students are getting the exposure to these practices. Monica, you're in the classroom every day. I don't know if you have anything else to
Well, I
add to
think,
how those work.
You know, the best way to describe it is when you want them to think that way, you want them to try to apply it to real world situations that make science relevant to them and to their own life. So we had to really dive into some of the STEM scopes units that we had to see where this would come into play. So we kind of took apart all of the different scopes that we had and wanted to see where the SEPs fell. And so it goes, you know, the 8 are explained at top, and then we go by grade level where we see some of that work being done in each of the grade levels, and it really does have a great sequence of going from very basic off in the K to 2 and then building up to where it would be, and I can only speak as far as grade 6 on the graph or the tables that you have here. So, you know, we're relating to real world things, and the questions are usually around how it affects or connects to the students. And you'll just notice that a lot of the assessments that we give go from, you know, some that are informal to formal, and they build up as the grades build up. So we go from things as simple as pictures all the way to essays. And so the best part about it is when they're doing the engineering practices, that really has a lot to do with them just going like off on a topic. They're not given vocab, they're not given structure, they're not given directions. I don't tell them what to do. I just give them the stuff. We talk about what it is, what we think it is, what they think it's going to do, and they, like, for lack of a better word, they tinker with it. Mm-hmm. And then I do more of the teachers, I should say, do more of like a facilitating within the classroom and maybe trying to gear their vocabulary, but we don't like give them all the language. We want them to make the connections on their own so that the actual language has meaning to them by the time they're done. So they have opportunities to do a lot of creating, building, explaining, working together, asking questions, answering them on their own before I come into play or any instructor comes into play. And then, you know, in the end, a lot of the kids will make their connections. And when they get to the upper grade levels, it's more of like writing an essay about it and where the connections lie. The only issue that we have that is probably not a surprise is just finding the time to do it, because they really do need a lot of time to learn it. And so fitting it into the day for the lower grades is tricky because their priorities are reading and writing and math, and these activities take a little bit more. So the instructors and all the grade levels, we're really working on the pieces that we absolutely need that are the most beneficial to the students and taking what we can. And STEM Scopes provides a huge menu. So we're just, you know, this is our first year. So
I think that's been a little overwhelming for teachers this year. I kind of equate it to the first year that the reading model units came out, and teachers thought that they had to do every single word that's in every single model unit. And now that we're in year 3 of those model units, we're realizing what we absolutely need to pull from that unit, what we can maybe do without, what might be a nice extension activity. So we're in year 1 of kind of, we jumped into the deep end with STEM Scopes, and we're learning to, you know, we're treading water right now, and we're doing a great job, and the feedback has been great. I think by next year we're going to be swimming laps. We're going to be really, you know, I'm meeting with the rep tomorrow, and that is my first question for him is, what guidance can I give, or what help can you help give my teachers of our teachers of, you know, finding that balance and managing the time as far as hitting all the standards without just buzzing through everything.
Are your kids using the makerspace for some of the, because, you know, the whole notion of that was one of the reasons we tried to do the makerspaces, is that it was a hands-on opportunity for the process.
Yeah, I know that Marion Fravel has done a really good job, especially for the lower, like the primary grades of, the teachers have told her what they want to be able to do, and she creates it in her makerspace, and the students circulate in there and they utilize it. For sixth grade, I haven't taken down the classes. We're doing a lot of Camp Dennison trips.
I know you are.
right
I was gonna
now.
comment on that, 'cause
So
you're doing a great job with
we've been
that.
doing those, and
People know about that?
No.
So why don't you tell them a little bit about how you took it on?
It was an adventure.
It was an adventure.
But I just have the sixth grade students are working with Andrew Prazar, who works for the.
He's a naturalist.
Yeah. Well, I forget the actual title.
Yeah.
But he is a naturalist, and he's very, very good.
Yeah.
And he and I have coordinated and planned together so that he has the ability to connect life science, even though I teach earth science. And we found like a connection, so whatever I'm teaching in class, he's showing them out in real world experiences. So in the fall, I took all the sixth grade classes twice, and now in the spring we're going again. Wow. And so the first in the fall was about weathering and erosion and creating of soil, and now we're working on like microclimates and how Camp Dennison has high elevation and low elevation, and how that really changes the pace of growth for plants. And so we just we're sketching buds and taking air temperature and soil temperature, and then they'll go back. We've tagged the buds that they sketched, and we'll check them for the next visit, which I anticipate will be warmer and progress will be made. But it's just, I like it because I'm very hands-on for science. I think that's the best way to teach it and connect abstract thinking. But it's nice to see the kids say without prompting, "Oh, we talked about that in class." I'm like, "Yes, it's real. It exists," and they remember it, and I think that's the most important part. So I worked with the gentleman at Camp Dennison and coordinated the buses, and my team has been very kind about changing the schedule every time we go, so classes can rotate through, and we're going up until June 7th. That's our last trip. We go every Thursday.
That's great. Camp Dennison is beautiful.
So how that happened, this is a good case of timing is everything, right? So Jim Lacey, you know Jim Lacey. Jim does a ton of work with a whole board, the Bobs and all that group. And they approached me, I bet, 4 years ago, saying we would love to have the kids come out and help us work the trails and, use the pond and all of that kind of stuff. And we're always like, yeah, Jim, that's a great idea. We even talked, Margaret and I met with a couple of people from that had been working with Jim at Camp Dennison from, was it Boxford? Maybe a local school district had been doing something like that. So Jim approached me again and said, "Hey, can we sit down with these ladies and try to figure out if we could do something?" So Margaret and I sat with Jim, and then he said, "Well, we'll hook you up with a naturalist and we'll pay for it. We'll hook you up with buses and we'll pay for it." But we didn't have a teacher who necessarily was willing to do it. So Monica had been a sixth grade teacher for a year, right? She was just going to start, and we were like, "Oh, I don't think we can ask her to do that." We did anyway, but then we worked with her and said, "Well, maybe give you a year, and then maybe we can talk to you about it again." And so when we talked to her again, the stars aligned, right? And she took it on. So I really want to give her so much credit, and her team, because it's another thing, right? But what a wonderful program it's turned out to be because of her enthusiasm, but also because now these kids are seeing this great community resource that they probably didn't even know was there.
Yeah, a lot of them don't.
And they're applying this stuff.
Yeah.
And the board at Camp Dennison is beyond thrilled. So it's worked out perfectly. But honestly, if it weren't for Monica taking it on, probably wouldn't be happening at this point in time. And yet the kids are getting such great experience now.
It's all hands-on, which is great. It's all
It
real
is.
life.
It's a perfect example of
Ties
these
into this
science and
rubric.
engineering
Yeah,
practices at
exactly.
work. It's like that's what we need to instill in our students, so they know what that feels like, so they know what the struggle feels like, so they know all of those experiences, and that's really a perfect example.
I can connect a lot of what we do there to things in class to make it very concrete for the kids. But as far as like using makerspace, the time that sixth grade is utilizing it is when we have WIN every day, and so the kids that I have during that time that do like an enrichment part, we have a STEM group, and Marianne Fravel and I have coordinated a schedule so that twice a week they go down there and do something that I can continue in my room. So
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, I like it.
So I remember when you came here to talk about the STEM Scopes curriculum, well, we talked about the different curriculums that you looked at and then the final few, and then that you actually wanted to recommend moving forward with STEM Scopes. So how is it going? I know, like you had said, the first year, but overall, are you enjoying the curriculum? Because I know when we had the opportunity to sign in and go, look at it a little more in depth, and I thought it was great.
It is great. I think that there's a lot more to it than we've even been able to kind of dip into.
Okay.
I really think there's just a lot of possibilities. And right now, I think maybe staff might feel a little overwhelmed because there's so many possibilities. And we're used to some things being scripted. So now we have the freedom to take all these tools to address the standards.
Okay.
And so we're really working collaboratively to figure out like what we're going to put in our toolbox to address those standards. And that's the process that we're in right now. But the children are responding great to it, which is the most important piece, I think. And the only other piece that I would, if we had an opportunity for professional development on the technology part of it, I've dabbled in it. Fifth grade has, with how you can use STEM Scopes to give homework assignments. They can log in at home. It can be graded online. We're our green school, so it's kind of nice to not be killing trees and using all the paper. But there's a lot of glitches with that, and I know that I haven't used it to its potential because of those glitches. That's the only piece I think that needs some tweaking, but good response from the students.
Good. And then you're going to meet with them tomorrow, so
Yeah,
hopefully you'll get some.
Yeah, I'll get some. He said he had some new things to share with me, which I'm looking forward to hearing about. And I just want to give a lot of credit to the teachers. I will be the first to admit we threw a lot at them this year because the opportunity to get that program was there, and we took it. And
thank you.
Remember how we
Thank
talked
you.
about phasing it,
Phasing,
right?
yeah.
And doing it at a slower pace.
So I want to give a lot of credit to the teachers. They have done an amazing job of using those resources, adjusting their instruction, because it is, for a lot of people, a different way of teaching that they may not have been used to or may not have been comfortable with, but really, because STEM Scopes really is all about putting it out there and getting messy with it and letting students kind of, figure things out, flub things up, and really just make sense of science in their own way first and then relate it to the content, which is different. And teachers have really bought into that and made sure that they're trying to be as consistent with the program as possible. Certainly work to be done and things to be refined, but even I wasn't even planning on introducing the technology piece to it this year because I didn't want to overburden some teachers, but they said no, send me a login, get my kids online, because I want to test out how to do these online components as well. So can't say enough about their dedication and their commitment to working with that program.
Yeah, that's great. Good, terrific.
Okay.
Well, thank you,
Monica.
Sure,
Good luck
thank
with that
you.
Camp Dennison
Yeah.
program. That's great.
You should come some Thursday. 10:15 we go. Bring a coffee, bring a sweater. Come on. Yeah. I take mine with almond milk and one sponge.
Thank you.
Monica.
Thank you. So can I make a suggestion? Because Sean's been waiting a long time. So would we be able to have Sean come up? And
Absolutely.
Then Colin can talk about Google. He can come back and talk about
Yeah,
Google.
absolutely. What do you think?
Sorry, Sean. What we should have done.
Colin can stay later.
You're learning all kinds of things, right? That maybe you don't.
What a Rubik's square is.
Would I had you come later? We probably should have done that. But come at 8 o'clock. So we apologize.
How's everyone?
Good.
Because there's no food, we're gonna make you stay.
I'm sorry, Michael. Come by the cafeteria anytime. We'll buy you lunch.
Actually, remember when we would too.
Absolutely.
What's on the menu tomorrow?
Pizza, Domino's.
Gluten free? They do have gluten free pizza.
Yeah, we don't buy them from the middle high though.
Yeah.
There's no draw. So
That's
we
interesting.
just get the whole wheat crust. Busy day.
How is Domino's?
Domino's.
How
Domino's
is
is great.
Dominic loves it?
Yeah.
Is Domino's working out?
They're
good?
working out. We had a glitch 2 weeks ago That got sorted out, and they comped our pizzas and everything. It was just
Oh, that's good.
yeah. So
Do we have bagels?
they're good.
Or is that not?
The best bagel.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
I know it.
Yeah.
It got messy.
We were trying
Fluffers,
to.
yeah. They were way too big for a reimbursable meal. It became an issue for that. And it's just hurting our numbers and hurting everything.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we can't have bagel segregation. But so I printed out the action plan that I was presented with upon hire, and there's a lot of green, which is good.
Yep.
There's a couple things in red. The routine. So yellow is in progress, and red is not happening right now, not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe
But
not.
it is a not
You know,
yet.
depending
What
on
is not?
it is.
Red means not yet.
Yeah, oh yeah, I thought you were saying in particular.
So I'm on packet 1. That's the 9-page packet. There's a
It's one school, right?
So focus area 1?
I think I do it.
That's right.
7?
I'm on page 5 for the first red blue. If you want to go over everything, we can, but I figure we'll just talk about the red. Sure. Okay. So the first red is name the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Haven't got there. Emailing with Miss Dodge. They're supposed to paint some murals for us for the cafeteria. Waiting to see how that's coming along. I was supposed to be presented with some artist renditions of what it might look like. I'm waiting on that. So I was going to roll that in with name the cafeteria. So if they're going to do a mural, they could incorporate it.
Yeah, that's
So how are you gonna do that? What's the process gonna be about naming the cafeteria? You're gonna like put it out to,
Put it out to the students.
okay.
Or we can just pick it right now if she wants. We'll do something along those lines.
Yeah.
We'll vote for it and come out and narrow it down and then do a
Yeah.
grand prize drawing when we get there.
This next red one has me concerned.
Cheese and crackers.
What's going on with the cheese and crackers?
I forgot them tonight. That's just for tonight. No, really. That was an idea, I believe.
It came from Danvers.
Danvers
Yeah.
does a cheese and crackers spread.
The fruit.
For what?
with
At
part of
lunch?
their lunch.
Yeah, they just have a display of cheese and crackers and fruit, and the kids use like the little cups and tongs and go and take it, and it's part of their meal.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like a
so
dexterity
it's a part of the meal. So they get a meal and then they grab
But that's
that.
not, it wouldn't be part of the could it count toward the reimbursable?
I mean, it
Not
depends on what the
sorta
other
really,
components
right?
are, so it kind of gets tricky.
They have
Yeah.
fruit.
The thing you have to be careful of is you don't have waste. You know, that's,
What do you think about that? Cheese and crackers?
If it was a big platter that was there that you could.
I would enjoy it. I like cheese and crackers and the fruit thing, but
Yeah, the other, the self-serve cheese and crackers thing for me is a food safety issue too. So, we could look into putting it on the salad bar where there would be a self-serve station anyhow, which we transformed into pre-made salads, We'll try it. We will try cheese and crackers.
We'll try
By
it
the end of
for
this
you
year,
first.
we will do cheese and crackers.
We'll try it.
Tell me which day. And I
I
will.
will.
that's
I mean,
right. Michael will come
email.
over.
What's that?
we'll try it
coming over and
first. We'll let you know.
So Danvers was kind of the benchmark on a lot of the things that we
Yeah,
were
it
drawing
seems
from
it.
last year. They do a lot of things well. Kudos to them.
Yeah.
We do a lot of things
It's
well
always
too.
good to be able to look at a place that's doing things
Right.
good.
And, in his first year,
reinvent the
he
wheel,
set
right?
some goals with
Yeah.
Sean, and he's doing a great job. I mean, as you see, there's a lot of green. So we didn't expect everything to be green
No.
in year one, so.
And in Sean's defense, Danvers was part of a school building project. So when they built the high school, they incorporated that huge cafeteria with the coffee shop and everything.
Yeah.
So they had that,
In
all
place.
part of
By
it.
design.
Sure.
So that
Yeah.
was big for them.
Yeah, he had to deal with a whole redesign and in a budget that was
Yeah.
tricky.
Small, yeah.
Small, yeah.
Can you tell me how the cafe is doing?
The coffee shop or the
Yeah,
deli?
how's that doing?
We're breaking even.
Breaking even,
Yep.
okay, well, not losing.
Um,
Is
and-
it getting better?
In the morning, it's always going to be the same. We're open for 35 minutes because there's no students there before that. The buses drop them off. We get a mad rush, and then it's time to go to class.
Okay.
So, our labor that we're, creating there is breaking even with sales. So it's kind of like something for the students to enjoy. After school, right now with the weather warming up and the games and everything, we're hoping we're going to start seeing a little bit more uptick in business. We have one person working that station after school, and that's the way it was designed from menu startup. And I think, you know, we had, I want to say it was Tuesday, we had $34 in sales, which is, you know, that's probably as high as we're going to have, as is now. If we can create some foot traffic going through there, all of our sales are in the first 20 minutes after school, and then it's ghost town. So
Because they're going to sports.
they're either in the locker room or they're walking home, you know. So we're hopefully going to drum up some more business when the weather warms up.
I mean, in Danvers, they have it open all day. So
Right.
that's the challenge, right? So teachers will come down, because every time I go to a meeting, I see, you know, there are students sitting there on their computers or working together. A teacher might be sitting with them. Teachers come down and they grab a coffee, take it with them on their way to class. You know, so whether we would have enough foot traffic for that remains to be seen. But I think if it's open all the time, like the custodian said, we would go there, because now we go on our break, we go to Dunkin' Donuts or something, right? But it's we don't know how much we would generate if we did it all day long, but that might be something to think about in the future, because, you know, if it's open, then people might go. You know, our kids don't have much passing time, and they don't, as we know, we don't have much study halls either, so they're mostly in class.
Right.
So that's the,
Does any of it could be self-serve?
well, that's the thing that Danvers does do some self-serve,
Yeah.
but they still have a body there.
They have a person working the station. And, you know, Danvers, they have the fact when you walk in, it's this beautiful just entryway. It's like a cruise ship, and the coffee shop's right there. You can't walk in without walking by, you know, the cookies and the coffees.
Yeah.
Where we're situated, it's kind of hidden, even if you have the back door open. When we had the after-school startup, people didn't even know for a couple of days. We had advertising, I had bright orange signs, all open after school, you know. It was hard to ignore, but even still, it's a routine thing. If you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it. Or, hey, they're open, but it's probably not for us, even though the signage was everywhere. You know, so Danvers has that over us for sure. And I think that if I crunch some numbers, figure out any given day, how many teachers have an open period and X amount of time that would be eligible to come down and buy a coffee. Because if you have a class, you can't. You know, I know maintenance is crazy busy. So hopefully they'll be able to come in, you know, when they will. It's just we have to make sure that we're covering at least labor, you know. Selling coffee is not, it's not a big, you know, there's not a lot of money on the shelf, but the labor is the one thing we have to cover.
Yeah.
And Danvers also doesn't have a Dunkin' Donuts within walking distance.
Right.
They also have a,
I know,
and
that's
they
the
also
other
have a
thing.
bigger
Anything.
student body.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
You know, so they've got a couple factors.
Yeah.
And they're,
Yeah,
I have
and
open
nice
study,
coffee,
so
you
they
know.
can go down during study hall and sit in there.
Yeah,
They
and study.
can, they can buy food and eat in
Yeah,
the
that's
classroom.
pretty
So
neat.
with the new principal, we're gonna have that conversation, you know, like maybe we could loosen up a little bit on that, you know, if teachers are, hey, if they're gonna go to college and they go out in any place in their community, that's what's happening, right? They're,
Prep 'em.
you know, we're assuming that we're all
But
old
so we're
enough.
cutting down, we're gonna cut down on instruction.
No, we're not cutting down.
So that we can sell some
instruction.
coffee.
That's the other thing too, is that, you know, seasonal, like finding out from the kids, like, do we have the stuff that you really want? Like, is there something that we might change? You know, like my sons all drink different stuff. Like Brendan will only do iced coffee.
Right,
You know, Matt will only do hazelnut. You know, I mean, Brendan likes coladas. You know, I mean, so it's kind of like, you know, what do the kids really want? Maybe what we're serving isn't really what they.
I know
want.
my son got like a hot chocolate and he came home and he was like, Mom, it was really good. Like he was so surprised about it. I'm like, well, why are you sound so surprised?
Yeah, that's the
Cappuccino.
stigma of school lunch, right?
Cappuccino.
Like, it's-
Stigma of school.
Oh, yeah,
lunch,
that's really good.
See, so Chloe, come on, get your friends
Seriously.
and say, come on, let's head
No,
down.
I would always get a cappuccino like before play practice, and it was great.
That's good.
we miss you. Come on back.
More please.
Another play, yeah.
It's the foot traffic. We're trying to, you know, just drum up the
It's the
business.
first year, right?
That's right now is the tell. So with the sports going on, the practice is happening, the weather warming up, people walking more, probably getting rides less. Now is going to really show us what's going to happen. So keep you informed. Stay tuned. The next section of red is a big one, but it's the marketing campaign and incentive program. And this year I wasn't interested in giving stuff away to try to get something back. You know, so I wanted to get a true read on what was going on. I still don't really see the need for it personally. You know, the punch card system might be something we could look into for coffees or hot drinks or something like that for the cafe. Sure. And a lot of this, I believe, was designed to move the inventory, which we don't have a problem with inventory sitting around, so there's no need to do that. You know, we've done a lot of work on our purchasing this year, working with our vendors, making sure that we're getting the right stuff, and that comes from the DoD and the fresh government subsidies that we get as well. So.
And if, I mean, participation is up meaningfully, why?
We're looking at 6% right now. We're at 45, holding steady at 45 in March. So.
Yeah, and that's within the goals we had identified.
That was the goal. Actually, 45, we hit it on the head. So.
So you're done.
So that's it.
No,
See you
we're
later.
not done, but, you know, he's done a great job.
Yep. So the packet number 2, the middle high school, we're looking at the coffee shop, you know, generate 15K for the first year. We're on track to do about 9.
Okay.
So that's, you know, a 4K shortcoming, but it's the first year. We really,
Right.
that was a hope, you know, that was something we were looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's only going to get more popular. It's not like anybody's having bad experiences, right? So it's going to continue to snowball and build. And hopefully, you know,
We can open it during the day.
can open it during the
be
day.
a little more flexible.
That's one of the goals and plans that I'm working on now. I'm talking to some of my colleagues all over New England, actually, that I used to work with that went to, you know, K-12 from higher ed, and finding out what they're doing for pilot programs, what they're doing to change things around. And a big thing right now is a Chipotle concept. So if you turn one of the lines into a Chipotle, and you have 2 people working it and just walking down and like throwing it together, that's something that's really, really popular.
So what would that look like, Sean?
So, I mean, basically you would have your fillings, you know, yeah, so everything would be a wrap, or you could get a bowl. So, you know, you can buy taco shell bowls already pre-made.
Without the listeria, I hope.
Well, I can
assume-
order it without, it's more expensive.
Okay.
We'll look at that.
Yeah, but Chipotle is very popular.
Chipotle is
with the
super
kids, right?
popular.
Yep.
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 Yep. So that's something we're looking at. And then I was thinking for the coffee shop to get it open during the day. If it's not open as a coffee shop, say those numbers don't work, you know, devil's advocate. I was thinking of doing a pop-up restaurant series. So once a month, once every 2 weeks, we'd open it. I would contact Palmos and I'd be like, you know, let me get 2 trays of like chicken wings. Let me get buffalo and teriyaki. And you would go to the register, buy a ticket, come down there and pick up your food. It would be an upcharge. It would be like a $4 lunch because you'd be getting something from an outside vendor, and it would be something we typically wouldn't have. Sushi would be another thing, or an ice cream parlor. So you could actually get a banana split, or you could get a hot fudge sundae.
Liking these ideas, Chloe?
No.
Chloe's liking them.
One and
I'm
three,
watching
yeah.
Chloe's
Right?
face.
You know, so I mean that's something that
Yeah, sushi. The kids are liking sushi.
Yeah.
They too.
Do they, really?
it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it'd be different.
Yeah.
You know, it's and we're utilizing the space during the day.
Yeah.
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 That's a great idea. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's something that we're gonna try. That's probably gonna be pushed out till next year because I have
Yeah.
to get some stuff and make signage. So yeah, that's the big plan for the coffee shop.
That's
the big
good.
deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that.
So at Pembroke, there was an idea to increase revenue through a la carte items, which we just haven't gotten to. We haven't done it. I know it stopped last year. We stopped offering ice cream on Wednesdays, I think it was, and snacks. So that's something that I want to
Explore back.
explore a little bit.
That was a revenue generator.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna look
Many
at
a
that.
day did I have to run down to school because I forgot
With
to
the
give
money.
them their money for ice cream. Right?
Right.
Do you remember that those days, Chloe?
So
It is what it is.
it is, and and then at both schools, the vending machines.
How are those going?
The one at the middle high is very, very popular. The one at Pembroke is a dog. It's not doing anything at all. And when I say nothing at all, I
Surprised at
mean
that because of
$20 a week. Compared to sometimes $300 a week at the middle high.
Wow.
It's just, we're actually having a problem with product. We have to check the dates on stuff and get rid of it at Pembroke because it's
Oh,
not
that's
rotating out
terrible.
fast enough.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
then-
snack one, right?
It's a snack one. They're both the same. Yeah.
Yeah, why is
Is it because
that?
no one's using the gym or it's not being
They
utilized?
they are using the
Yeah,
gym.
It's
I mean,
used a lot.
winter
I don't know if it was, I
basketball
don't know if
was.
they want drink. I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Well, I mean, even the way it's positioned,
I think it's
Yeah.
tough.
In that entryway.
that entryway,
No.
and
Yeah.
like you could miss it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you didn't know it was there, you could easily miss it.
Do people, when they come to games, so do they come in that door?
That's where they should be coming in.
Yeah, so they just aren't, there's just not an interest? I don't know.
I mean, I will say, one day, like late after school, I'm like, oh, I'd like a munchie, and I forgot the vending machine.
Right.
So it really is a little bit out of sight.
Out of sight.
Those $20 have come just from Mark.
She wants some
miss it.
To go with her 3 o'clock
The way
coffee,
it's
right,
positioned
Margaret?
And the way you enter the door and go into you'd miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easily missed.
It has to be there so there's no access
Right.
from the children.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
no,
designed
we-
that
yeah.
way, you know?
There's no other place to put it.
Sorry, Sean, but also because we closed down the rest of the school.
Right.
So if we didn't have it there, people wouldn't be able to.
No
get
idea.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so that's something we have to think about.
Right.
Maybe it makes sense, if the high school needs more, maybe we move it there and we don't have it at Pembroke. I don't know, we'll have to
Right.
take a look at it.
We'll take a look.
That could make sense.
Move it around.
That's crazy though, that you have to check the dates.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
that
and
slow.
That's
actually.
waste.
And we're
Yeah.
purchasing things, we're trying to cater towards, you know, people using the gym, you know, so we have like Nutri-Grain bars in there, we have beef jerky for somebody that wants like a protein-rich snack, something like that. And it's just not going. It's just not going. It's not going. It's unfortunate. And I haven't got to run a snack shack at some of the home football and baseball
Yeah,
games yet.
that's understandable at this point.
Yeah, I think that would, I think it would go well. I know like last year, Rockport has a very big, snack shack.
Mm-hmm.
At like the baseball games, and it seemed like they were doing pretty well.
Talking to the staff, a few of them showed interest and said, you know, why don't we open the coffee shop during games? You know, I don't know if that would be, you know, now you're getting into the building for an outdoor game. I don't know if that would be
Right, what
an
about
issue.
security though?
Right.
Well, you know, I don't know.
So,
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
would be tough, I
we-
think.
Be on a cart.
Yeah, that's
You
what
could
I
have
was
a
gonna say,
cart,
like,
yeah.
can you,
Outside.
time to serve the beverages.
Sean,
Well, or you just make sure everything else is locked down.
Right.
You know?
One way in, one way out.
One way, yeah, and
It'd be
you.
like the people at the Red Sox games.
Oh, the vendors, yeah.
Those things.
Yeah. Sports bars.
You know?
Yeah.
check the peanuts down the
Yeah,
road.
Yeah, of course.
They have the hut
I'm liking this
downstairs
now.
in the parking lot.
Yeah.
What about that in the parking lot, the hut in the parking lot? They use that for football games, right, Chloe?
What if
The
there
what
was
now?
weather or something?
They use
You have a
that,
snack stand at football games.
Is there?
Yeah,
I
that-
have to go to
it's
more
right at
football
the-
games.
Right in that little, the down,
It's in the parking.
Down on
lower
the
parking
students'
lot.
lower parking lot.
yeah.
I'll have to check it out. I haven't been out there to look at it yet. I thought it was storage. I only see it from inside the cafeteria.
And Sean's been really working hard on the catering thing. He's got a great menu
I
put together,
know.
promoting, and I don't think we had one.
You did a great
booster,
job with the
you know,
NEAS.
Booster group use.
No,
Like,
no
do you have
outside
that?
catering. You know, I worked, I was talking to Ann with the wrestling team about it, but,
Yeah.
you know, things happened and it really progressed quickly for them, so they ended up going to Black Swan. And
Yeah.
I think one of the issues, one of the challenges we have is to do a nice catering, you don't want to have it in the cafeteria at the school. You want to be off property and you want to go somewhere different, you know? And that's definitely a challenge for us. As far as internal catering, we're dragging there too. So trying to figure out if it wasn't for Peter and me breaking him over the coals, taking all of his money,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, no, I mean, I think that the stuff you've done in-house has been nice.
Yep.
But I think that it is almost always the case that the boosters groups or the sports groups come to the cafeteria. It's rare that they go off-site. So that's why I thought, you know, that was a good captive audience. But I think, you know, it's hard to get away from the stigma, it's school lunch. So I think we have to figure that out. Like, and so one of the things I know we've been talking about is, you know, can we get platters? Like, can we get more chafing dishes? Can we, you know, can we do tablecloths? You know, like, so it doesn't feel like, okay, you know, it's cafeteria lunch.
Right.
You know, because it isn't. I mean, the stuff he's talking about,
I know.
you know, offering, we just need to get a couple people to sort of do it,
We
right?
need
And then they can
one
say-
person just to try it
Yeah.
and be like, hey, that wasn't, you know, chicken patties and
Right.
sloppy joes. So, and you know, the startup cost is pretty substantial
That's
to
right.
buy the equipment
We
and
don't
get
have
everything
this.
there, and we have to make sure that money in is going to be balanced out.
Right.
Otherwise, it's, you know,
I mean, there
again.
has to be good marketing. You really have to get the
Right.
news out to
Right.
the decision makers, you know, the
Yep.
mothers of captains who
Well,
are
that's what we tried to
parents
do. I
of
know.
captains.
Well,
who
the
are-
ADs have the
Well,
athletic
he's
directors,
worked with
you know.
Guy and
Oh, yeah.
Ryan.
Explain to them.
Yep, coaches, the coaches, you know, have seen the menu.
Because it is
told them.
new, you know, I mean.
It takes time. I'm
yeah.
not really worried
A
about
lot of
it.
parents just they wanna do what the person before them had done, because, especially if it went well.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, so you have to convince them.
But, I mean, you go into the Black Swan for chicken parm, they can make chicken farm,
Right.
right? So it's
It's not
really
a
a matter of, I mean,
no matter
they're-
what
you
you
know,
do,
most
it's
of these
long
teams are not
benches,
going out
it's-
and getting prime rib.
Right, yeah.
You know, that generally it's pizza, right? Salad, chicken fingers, spaghetti, you know, pasta. So, you know, it's gonna come, but you know, the goals for this year were to get, you know, make the changes that we had planned to make, get the program to a place where it's not going in the hole, right? And, you know, change people's, you know, ideas about, you know, what school lunch can and could look like, you
And
know.
what we are capable of.
And
Right.
and generating additional revenue, which we've had some success with the vending machines.
Mhm.
You know, it's been our most successful venture so far
It
within
is.
that, but.
I mean, there's no labor involved, you know, so that's the best thing about vending, you know.
Yeah.
I want the coffee shop to do well. I really think it has potential. It's just trying to get over that hump, you know, trying to
Right.
get people there.
Right.
Get used to coming, make it part of a routine, you know.
Yeah.
Do we fill them vending machines, or is that an outside?
No, we fill the snack machines and the water machine. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I think one of athletics department gets what the
Powerade.
Gatorade one,
Yeah.
Powerade.
Gatorade one.
Right, so that goes to them.
Well, it's like for the catering, you almost have to transform the cafeteria
Yes.
into a restaurant
Right,
feel.
right.
Like prom,
Which,
like you'd have to like
again,
make it
yeah.
something.
Expense.
But if we have a mural and,
Right.
you know, the signage, you know, I
We
mean,
need
everybody is
tablecloths,
impressed
you
with
know,
the,
we need, like,
the
nice
look of the coffee
dishes.
shop. So, you know, I think it's.
It's getting the business in the first place.
That's right,
I mean,
exactly.
convincing parents that this is not just another school lunch,
Right.
school dinner like a school lunch. This is
Well, even like to make
better
make
than
the
what they
cafeteria
could
look
get
like
by
it,
going
like with
outside.
round tables.
Yeah, we'd
and
like to
regular
do that.
chairs.
We'd like round
Yeah.
tables, definitely. But we also have to make sure that there's enough seating for the kids during the day. And, you know, round
Right.
tables don't hold as many people, right? So that's the discussion that we had with Peter, you know, the spaces. I think the other discussion, maybe we don't have it tonight, but we do have to have it, is pricing. Because it appears that the amount of money, $3, isn't keeping up with the cost of, particularly of the food, right? Food costs, because we're offering a variety of things. If we remember, when we went to some of these other places to look, they had differentiated prices. So, you know, the deli is very popular. But you have to have a lot of options there, right? In order for it to, you know, people to think it's a little Subway, right? So maybe that needs to be a little more expensive, right? And
Right.
you remember they had different cold meats in both of the places we went, and you know, whereas maybe the chef special is the $3,
Right.
you know. So how we might have to look at that.
Okay.
So that's something we're talking with Sean about. Like maybe he could make some recommendations now that he knows what it really costs, you know, to do it. You know, at the middle high school is what we're really talking about.
Right,
now.
the middle high school, you know, and that was the driver behind, you know, the pop-up restaurant series too. It's like, it's an upcharge, it's more of it's an event. You know, you go and you have something a little bit unusual that you would have at school lunch, you know. And I think that the deli, we could do the same thing. I think that the deli, from the beginning, probably should have been priced a little bit higher. It was just, you know, it all happened, you know, and it's a whole nother station. It's another full-time employee, and it's purchasing just for that. We had a deli last year. It was a self-serve deli. The variety was about half. We're going through 50 loaves of bread a week at the Panini station. So, you know, we're spending roughly between $350 and $450 on food a week just for that station. That's all being consumed. So every week we're ordering turkey, we're ordering ham, and we're ordering, you know, buffalo chicken, things like that. So it's a constant mover. It's just, we're selling a $3 sandwich for $3.
I was gonna say, is the cost actually running?
We also switched from trays to round plates, which is really nice. It looks 10 times better, but they're 3 times the cost. It's not 3 times like, oh my God, because the trays are so cheap, but it is 3 times the cost. So, you know, I think we're spending roughly an extra $36 to like $45 a week on plates, you know, and these things add up. So, you know, we're gonna have to look at the pricing, I think.
It's nice to hear that I haven't heard we hope we're gonna make payroll this month.
It's great.
Which I don't think we've heard at all, so which is, it will come change.
Good.
Sean's done a great job. Thank you, Sean, for being
That's
there and
good.
waiting so patiently. Of course.
I know, everything looks great, and as, in terms of the, I know it was in yellow about, the website.
Well, it's up to date, and I meant to. There was one that was in red. It was supposed to be yellow, I believe. It's up to date. It's just there's like no breaking news on it, and I think that's kind of what it is geared towards.
And do you, are you in charge of that? You
Yeah.
update the website and everything?
Well, I work with Barry and
Yeah.
stuff. So.
Is there a demand for that? Like, is it worth the effort of?
People love their Facebook and stuff, so I don't know any kind of digital media. I would imagine people would just gobble up.
Is it gonna be like
I don't.
buffalo wings today?
Yeah, no, I think that. Well, I mean, it could be.
Okay.
I'm trying to decide what.
I'm just wondering when they would.
Do you have Twitter?
No. No.
I don't know, doesn't, it seems like kids are using Twitter more than Facebook.
Is it Twitter now?
They'll
Right?
tell you that. They don't use
Facebook
Facebook.
isn't the big
Facebook
thing.
is
No,
for-
kids
is for
don't
parents.
use Facebook.
Yeah.
Instagram?
I'd say Instagram.
Instagram.
Instagram is what they use.
Yeah.
I think Instagram would be a good idea, because
Sometimes
you can
that's
put
like taking a
pictures.
That is a
Picture
good.
of
Well,
meal and-
I've used that in the past. Yeah. Set up an account, and then I could. Well, you're not supposed to be using your phone in school, so I can't send you what lunch is looking
High
like.
school, but they do. And I
Yeah.
mean, oh my
Yeah,
God,
we're
they're
allowed to
texting
use
me
it.
in the middle of the day. I'm
Yeah,
like, really?
Like, just not in the
Snapchatting
classroom,
lunch.
but
Okay.
walking around.
One of the kids will teach you.
Seriously, I'm learning
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited because some of our students went over to the senior center and taught the seniors how to use their cell phones.
Oh, that's nice.
Wow.
Great.
And that precisely is why the kids don't use it.
No, that's good.
No, the kids tell me only old people use Facebook. You little brat, you know. What do you mean? It was so funny. I'm like, yeah, well, Mrs. Jacobs, no kids use Facebook anymore. Instagram,
Yeah,
Twitter,
Snapchat.
Snapchat. I said, what are you talking about? I just learned how to use Facebook. I know how to like, comment, and Michael taught me how to tweet.
When they
But-
get to college, though, they'll find that there are uses for Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and there are groups, there's job opportunities, there's, career fairs, they're gonna learn to get back into
Oh,
Facebook.
maybe.
It's
Oh.
gonna become practical for them, so
so
don't write
funny.
it off yet.
So funny.
A lot of people
As they
talk
get
on
older.
Facebook for colleges. If you want to go to college, get in a group chat with them.
Right,
Or a lot of people find their like roommates too. So it's
Yeah.
still used.
Yeah,
as
they're
well.
still used.
But not the typical, they're not their favorite.
Right.
No,
Say
like it
Instagram.
was. Instagram. Well, there you go.
All right.
But Sean, I'm
You'll
glad,
Filters.
Oh, all kinds of stuff.
thank you for coming in and waiting your time here, but things look good. Things, I love seeing all the green.
Green is good.
And so things are going well.
Things are going well. Yeah.
Green is good.
You know, it's this was my guidance for the year, and both teams at both schools are working. They're awesome. They're killing it every day. You'd be amazed at how hard they work every day.
Yeah.
And everybody seems happy.
Taking pride.
Yes, and the students seem happy, and the cafeterias are a cheerful place to be, and that's what we want. You know.
We should set up some visits again.
I know, we
should.
should.
To visit.
Yep.
Anytime.
Yeah.
All I need is 2 weeks' notice.
I know a lot of my income goes to the cafeteria.
I appreciate it. Thank
Which
you.
it didn't used to, right?
It didn't used to at all. Are
my
you
low
kidding? I'm
balance,
constantly
update
feeding
today.
money into it.
Oh, did you?
Yep. I gotta put something on there.
And I
You don't
know,
want to get those reminder notes.
right, I know we talked about this before, and I think it was a no-go, but, so if you have, say, 3 kids, and they
Oh, right,
each
they-
have to have their individual
Yeah.
account,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't have like a family.
Yeah,
You
no.
can't, but you can move money in between those kids if you want to.
Oh, you
Transfer.
can?
Really? It's where
I
the
think,
program's
well, I think
set
you
up.
have to call.
Well, yeah, you call the office and
Yeah,
they
you
say,
can't
you
do
know, if
it
you want to
yourself.
transfer some money around, we'll do that for you.
Yeah.
So you can.
So why couldn't you have, because it's different schools, or,
It's
what if it's
different.
at
And
one,
it's
what if it's at
One
one
reimburse,
school?
one meal a day, one lunch a day
Oh,
per
right, and
student.
if you
So
put
if
it-
you have one account, that's only one week.
We did look
It
into
has to
that.
track each child.
Yeah. Oh, good. Things look great.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
See you soon, cafeteria.
Yep.
Okay, now we're gonna have Colin back.
Yes, last but not least.
Bye, Chloe.
Still smiling.
Always. Especially about this topic.
I know, this is near and dear to Colin's heart.
Good night, Chloe.
Hi, Chloe. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you have a Google Slides presentation,
Yeah.
not a PowerPoint, on a PD that we did at Pembroke in late January. Must have been that half day, the Google transition.
Yeah. It was January at your
Half
school.
day in January, and then we had a day where we went over to the middle high school, March 23rd, which is what you have here, to talk about making the switch from the hodgepodge of technology that we have to a consolidated system using Google and their platform, the G Suite, as it is called in the biz. So if you'd like, I could walk you through this presentation. If you just have questions of how things are going or what we're doing, I'm happy to do
I
that.
don't think we have to go through the presentation. But we do need to talk to you about how the process is gonna look.
Yeah.
That is gonna
Or if you
look
got
for
time
the school
tonight.
committee.
How what?
How the transition is gonna look for school committee.
What?
Right, because
Your emails will change. Your addresses may not change because we are keeping the naming convention of last name, first
Yeah.
initial at georgetown.k12.
Yeah.
However, that email account will now be a Gmail account.
Oh, I think that's great.
So wonderful. So
We like to hear that, Pam.
So starting
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Microsoft Outlook is driving me crazy.
Yeah.
It just lost it won't fill in my password, it won't fill in, I don't know why.
don't
It
know
just
why
all of
either.
a sudden stopped doing that, so Gmail, here we come.
Here we come. So starting tomorrow after dismissal, Ben Rubino is going to start renaming accounts. And over break, we are going to make that transition from using our Exchange servers to house our email to farming that out to Gmail so that we will then have the capacity, have the security, have the storage space to manage all of our email in one place. It just won't be in this place. It'll be Silicon Valley or elsewhere.
So will there be downtime then?
So as soon as Ben renames the account, you will have no downtime from when you can log in to check your mail. What there may be a little downtime in is having your old mail that may be stored on the Exchange server migrate over to Gmail. So Ben, that's why we're doing it over spring break. We figured that was as good a time as anyone. People wouldn't be checking their mail or need their mail as frequently as they do during the work week. And the conversion process, that migration tool that Ben is using, it takes about 3 seconds per message to move from Exchange into Gmail. And for some users, Ms. Jacobs, who have thousands and thousands and thousands of emails, that could take
I don't delete them.
that could take a while. Yeah, and
Well, it's a public record.
I don't think
Shouldn't
it's
be.
a
You're
public
not
record.
supposed to delete
and
it.
that
I don't think we're supposed to, right.
that includes all archived and deleted mail because we're required to hold on to those things. So that migration process
Yours
could
might take a
could
week
take a
all
while.
day.
I know, wow.
The good thing is we can run multiple users at once. I think Ben has his plan on how he's going to start cutting people over. Fortunately, some people jumped on the bandwagon early and are already cut over. All of the Pearly staff is already cut over to Gmail. Mike's maintenance staff, they're already cut over. We had a bunch of early adopters that said, I only use Gmail anyway, so just make the switch now. But yeah, starting tomorrow, or tomorrow afternoon, you'll be able to check your email through gmail.com.
So that's what we do, and then, so gmail.com,
So
and
you're
then,
gonna add, essentially, there's gonna be a button for like add a user or add a login.
Yep. And
then you just do it the first time,
Yep.
and then you should remember it.
Well, that's why we want to make
There's
sure
like
you
where
all
you
are
would sign into
comfortable.
your Gmail account now. There's going to be sign in as a different user. You click on that and do Lynn RSB at Georgetown.
right, but then what about the password?
So your password will be your current Gmail password. And if you don't know what that is, you can just click the forgot password link and you'll be able to reset your password.
But what if you don't have Gmail?
You probably do and you just don't know.
No,
it.
I do, I know I do.
What if you have a bunch of Gmail? Like,
yeah,
I have at least 3.
So you you may have what I'm saying is you may have a Georgetown Gmail account that you might not know exists. Because I know
Georgetown schools.net.
Yeah, Georgetown-schools.net.
Okay, so if you don't know the password, you can just click on something and what it
Yep.
will
Like forgot
send
password.
it.
And you'll be able to set a new one.
And Barbie, if anybody on the committee has any questions,
Colin will sit with you, Ben will sit with you. You don't have to stress about it.
Yeah,
And the same with on our phone.
Yeah.
It'll help us.
It's actually even easier on your phone.
2 clicks and you're done.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe Michael can help
And
us.
what? Well, actually, what I can do for the
that's
for the
right.
committee, what I will forward the committee an email that Ben Rubino sent to all district, which has a link to a Google Drive folder that has a bunch of how-tos, including how to set it up on your phone, how to set it up on an Android phone, how to set it up on
need to stress.
how to set it up on Apple Mail if you prefer to use the if you have a Mac and you like to use Apple Mail. So he's taken screenshots of everything and step-by-step kind of tutorials on how to get everything set up. But wanted to just present this here today because I know we'd been talking about it. Our staff and everyone is aware, seem to be
Excited for it.
yes.
You'd use the word excited?
Yeah.
I'd say they're ready for it. They're
I'd say
looking
they're
forward
yeah.
to it.
And the good thing is on top of doing this presentation, which only took about 20 minutes to a half hour, we then, in those PD days, broke off into different
great.
sessions, kind of a beginner, intermediate, and advanced sessions, so that the real novices or the people that had no inkling of how to use Google or that they even had an account could meet with me and I could walk them through that and show them the things that they were interested in. Some intermediate people could learn about, Google Slides or Google Forms. The advanced group worked on Google Sites, some of the new features there. So I think the people that were really nervous about the switch just because of the fear of the unknown, I know that I've been able to personally work with a lot of those people who feel a lot more comfortable now.
Good.
And kudos also to Barry and Marianne. Who else helped with doing the workshops? Liz? Did Liz?
Yeah, Liz and Sandra. So the integration specialist, Barry, I mean, Ben Rubino
they
has
all did the
has been phenomenal.
sessions, right.
The whole tech team has been really great in trying to think of everything that could go wrong and plan for it ahead of time so that we don't run into any issues. That's not to say that there won't be any, but hopefully we have a quick answer.
And I know if you're signed up through Google Classroom, they're constantly sending you, sign up for our free, webinar, whatever it is, so that you can learn more about Google Forms or, It's great. It's a great resource to have.
Is GChat going to be on or available?
I think by default it is not turned on, and we'll probably keep it that way for the time being.
Is there a value to that, or more curious than anything.
What is that?
What is that?
It's like an instant messenger.
Oh, so like texting?
Oh.
But through,
through
email?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a lot of professional companies use Slack, which is like the same thing where you can just communicate without needing to send
It's not a
back and
proper
forth
email.
emails. How you doing? Fine, thanks.
Yeah.
How are you? I'm
So
good.
it's just
What's
like
going on
regular
today?
texting.
Yeah.
It's like an instant messenger texting. I know it's not turned on my account right
So it's
now.
called GChat?
Google Chat.
Yeah.
Google Chat?
There's so many elements of Google.
Well, so like, will our packets be Google Docs? Like, are we? Is that's the plan?
I don't know if we're there yet. We'd have to.
Because we were sharing Google Drive files
These?
Right.
in the fall,
So they could.
so that would be an easy enough.
Yeah.
Rather than attaching an email and worrying about cutting it into 3 parts because it's an enormous thing, you can just share a link to the Google Drive file and
Yep. Yeah.
save a step
Oh,
for
we can
Nancy.
look at that.
Yeah. I'd be happy to.
I mean, we're
don't
trying
want
to
everybody
be.
to edit
We're
it.
trying to be much
Wonderful.
better
Nancy's on board. Great. We're in.
about automating things. Like,
at
for
that point.
example,
True.
I was talking to Barry probably 3 weeks ago about the bus registration and Nancy and how cumbersome that is. And I said, boy, Barry, it's too bad we can't just send out, to the people that are eligible, send it out, and they can send it right back in, like they can do.
Yeah, I got
Oh my
it.
God, can you
I
do
got
that
the
for
email.
the athletic
Yeah.
registration too?
Well, maybe, but so Barry said,
Of those
well, I don't
forms.
know, but you know what, let
Me
me think
too.
about it. He made it happen.
it.
And
Alright.
now, and today, he sent out letters today,
Yeah, yeah.
and already he's got over 30, like,
Back.
Now, you know how long it would have taken us to get
Yeah.
30 back? And people would have put it aside, and then we're begging people. So we're really hopeful. So that's just opened a whole new world to us.
Yeah.
Like, okay, and how can we, have people using registry? What are we trying to get on registration now? Like, like we do for like Deb DeFrucia does. Who was talking to us about enrichment and
preschool.
But the preschool one.
An
That's it.
athletic forms.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the athletics. I got it. I got that.
I'm begging.
I got that. But, so we're trying to, because we're finding it's just, now that we kind of are embedding the technology a little bit better.
Well, we had actually met with FACS about
Right.
including them to do the
That's
billing.
what I'm remembering.
Because
Billing for preschool, right.
Amanda and Elizabeth Carroll, are overwhelmed with the billing and the invoicing for their programs. So we kind of talked to FACS
Can we
to
add
see if
athletic
we
fees?
could include all of that in the.
I'm sure they will for a
Boy,
price.
their fees were.
Yeah, their fees.
They
a little-
have some fees,
They're-
so we're
We're looking
we
at
met
it.
with them and we're looking at it.
Yeah.
But
Because it could consolidate everything in one, packet, one application process. But the reason I mention that is because we are really trying to figure out, like, how can we automate this? Because the world, things pop up on my phone all the time, and I'm like, I do it in 2 seconds. And so I said, there's got to be a way to automate it. Barry was a little nervous because it's the individual unique ID. Like, so how would we be able to do that? But he figured it out.
Found a way. Oh, that's good.
So, yeah, the tech team is really great. I mean, they work really hard. And
What is, somebody brought up public record,
yes.
from an archiving perspective, from a deleting stuff after it hits the 5, 7, 10 years, all those thresholds, I know we haven't always been doing that correctly. Is that happening?
Yeah, so when we make this switch, we'll then have access. Well, we do have access, but to the Google Vault, which can really, which is free for all education institutions, and really what that is even if an individual user puts something in their trash and then through their account permanently deletes it from that trash, it's still there, and we can pull it back from the vault. So there's the unlimited versioning of all stuff that comes in and out of our Gmail accounts is retrievable for as long as we say it needs to be retrievable for.
And can you put a date stamp on 7 years and it goes?
Yep, and then see you later.
Right.
So we're not just hanging on to stuff that we have no use for. We can set those customizations.
We were planning to keep Outlook until the end of the year, right? And transition to Google as much as we could. And, we were going to put a patch, or what did you?
So those are
word?
two different things. You're thinking of a plug-in.
Plug-in. I think that's the plug-in.
So we were originally going to kind of take the Google transitions by appointment after spring break until the end of the year. But then we realized everyone's address book would get really messy, and you would have to know who had been switched over and who hadn't, and who was So it wouldn't really solve the problem until we hit the summer, and we figured let's bite
the summer to answer the question.
Right, let's bite the bullet now. Do the transition, do the migration over spring break. That way, if people do have questions or if things are a little funky, people are still here in the district and in the building, so we can work with them one-on-one from then until the end of the school year, so that any issues that do come up, we can solve.
Are there, I'm sure distribution lists are moving over. Is there, so I sent an article out. I think I responded to something that Carol had sent out. Like the school committee distribution list was a delightful find because you can just type in school com or whatever it is, and it just goes to everyone instead of typing in the 5 address. Is there a way to see?
Oh, I didn't know that.
And we don't need like the all district. We don't need all those.
We all
Right.
do that. Like, I'll just go.
Appropriate ones that, and maybe that's the only one.
Address.
Like ones that you would want to put in your.
Yeah. That was a delightful find for me.
I don't know if they're.
It might be the only
if they're if they would be in your directory or contacts page. I can look into that to see if
said they would have to be created.
Yeah, they will be.
That saves me.
They'll be created. They'll be
Type in the first name and
created.
the list comes down.
The only thing one thing that won't migrate over are personal contact lists that a teacher or a user has made. Those will need to be copied and pasted from Outlook. But as far as searching for the universal directories or contact lists, I can see if there's a search function for that, or that you can drag into your own personal contacts.
And my next question is there going to be a contact list of, like, oh, McDonald, I don't remember the first name. Am I going to be able to look up a teacher or you or realize that you have 2 L's in your name that screws up everything?
Yes. But it won't anymore because now I'm just McDonald C.
Right.
But the MAC will screw things up. But,
but it will be a searchable directory.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it'll not only be the the username, but also the name attached to that account.
Right.
So you'll type in McDonald, and I'll come up as Colin McDonald.
Awesome.
So all the McDonald's would come up and you pick the one you want.
The right
So,
one.
That's good.
so just,
I like that.
because I'm trying to follow that. So is that different or the same as what we're used to?
I'm not sure what you're used to because I've never used Outlook.
I'm constantly
Or
getting
a
emails from other
2003
people.
So if I want to send a message to the school committee, or, you know, that if I click on the two, it lists like a grade 6 team. I don't have to type in every grade 6 team.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
That
or
was the-
like school committee, I don't have to type all of them in.
Yes.
Will that?
Yep.
Okay, then that's fine, I'm happy, because that takes a lot of time to,
Yeah.
oh.
Yep.
Oh, not yet.
And with this transition as well, we've been able to clean up what those distribution lists look like and who are in those distribution
Some-
lists.
yeah, we still have
Because
some
I'm
old
sure those are getting sent to dead email addresses
Yeah,
or, you
they
know,
are.
things,
You're
people
right.
that
You're right.
don't work here anymore.
And I think the most important thing is that when an employee leaves, we don't lose everything.
Yep. So that's just to, you know, archive that username, and it's still there should we need anything, but it doesn't show up in the directory.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's all automated. It's not, well, I think they had a Google Drive, and I think
Right.
like, yeah.
No wonder we feel like we're tired all the time. We do a lot of stuff. Even tonight, we're like, wow, there was 5 different presentations. That's all a huge body of work.
No,
Well,
that's
thank
good.
you
I'm looking
for-
forward to this change.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, if you have any questions, I'll be here for a couple days over spring break and then certainly afterwards. So send me an email, just come by my office, you know, drop something in my mailbox, whatever, if you need any help.
Great.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Colin had a busy night tonight. Jack is not here because his son is turning 1 today.
Oh.
So he's at a birthday party
Yeah,
for his
good
son.
for him.
And he's up at 8:30.
I don't know. Yeah,
Come
good for
right
him. That's nice.
Yes.
Time flies.
That's what I said to him.
Wow. I know.
Peter?
So,
Okay, so we're done with the presentations.
Yes. So we just have subcommittee reports. Budget and finance, we met.
we discussed, well, I guess the first thing is that FinCom passed our budget.
Yep.
Yes,
which
they
is
did.
excellent news.
Yep.
And we
We're very
talked
grateful.
a little bit about hockey, the sort of the disparity in fees.
Mm-hmm.
We're still talking about preschool fees, trying to be competitive.
Yep.
There might have been one other thing.
Integration specialists.
Yes, kind of assessing the model and making sure that people are taken care of the way they should be.
Right. Yeah, doing a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a busy group. So,
Yep.
but we need to get another meeting to to actually
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
those. So maybe Nancy can send out a.
I thought we had one.
There, I,
Oh,
saw
is there
something in my
Is there
comment.
one?
The 27th.
Okay.
The 27th at 3 o'clock.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
Yep.
we don't need to set up a meeting, we're done.
Governance. Cheryl, do you wanna-
Yep, so we just met yesterday and we discussed the use of
School facilities.
school
Yep.
facilities and in particular, a community member was looking to use the school for a consignment sale. And we determined that she needed to pay the fee for the facility plus the fee for the custodian, based on, remind me. I just.
Yeah,
well,
just based
well,
on the policy that she's not like part of a
nonprofit or
a
something
group
like that.
that's, you know, for the, like the PTA, the GEF,
Right.
things like that. But it will be, you know, clear cut in terms of who gets charged that fee and who does not.
And mostly like.
Insurance, we discussed, remember the insurance, because we put that in our policy that
Yes,
everybody
they
had
need to have insurance.
Right, when
Which
it's an
can be
outside group.
purchased,
Yeah.
yeah,
At a
relatively
reasonable
easy,
cost.
at a reasonable cost.
And,
Right.
yeah, I think that was.
We did. And we did
Yes.
talk about distribution of flyers.
We did. We did, and the intention was to inform the community about events in the community. Everything would still be run through the superintendent and approved. But as far as taking a business outside of Georgetown, we weren't.
Well, or even a program, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Right, like that, the Rowley, the In the Woods thing.
Yeah.
The program that they had.
Oh, the treetop camp or something
Yeah,
like
things
that.
like that, so that, but also, we like, because we do have the biggest avenue of getting communication out to our families, we try to look at what people are wanting to get out to them, and if it is something that's gonna be beneficial to the families of our students, then
Right.
then we would be okay
Be
with,
okay with
with
that.
doing that.
Yeah, I think a lot of this came up because a couple flyers, we had go home, that apparently were private businesses, that we didn't necessarily know they were private businesses. But they were Georgetown people, so that's still a little wonky, but, we've kind of said if it's a Georgetown group, and their services benefit our Georgetown people, we have always let that, go out. It's that, there was just a little question about, if in outside groups, from for-profit outside groups, we've always said, we're sorry. Sometimes we will agree to post it in the school, but we don't agree to distribute it in the school. But it's kind of a delicate dance because, we would send out, like, we did have that conversation, we might as well talk about that for a minute. We did have a conversation about, an event that happens, like, let's say at a local restaurant, right? And, the restaurant, in a way, it does give the restaurant business, right? But we would send any restaurant in Georgetown, the information we would send out, not because we were trying to endorse the restaurant or support the restaurant by sending it out. It was more to give people an opportunity to just know it's existing, that Georgetown families might want to participate in it. That was kind of the discussion that we had. It wasn't an endorsement. And yet at the same time, we know that there could be some people who might think that, but that isn't our intention.
Right, because even when we have like our local businesses are so generous, like Pomodori's, and I shouldn't even name any because I don't wanna miss anyone that
Right.
does this, but a lot of our, businesses will, give like 10% of the evening sales to a lot of our teams, and things like that, so that again, we would want people to go to, but it's not saying that
You have to go.
it's not saying that you
not
have
hard
to
sell.
go, or that we we want you to order food from this place over somewhere else, because but we would like you to support our schools, things like that.
Right. Well,
So-
and they are supporting, like, even when we think about auctions, PTA auction, music parents auction, we're tapping into the same
Yes.
people in our community.
Yeah.
So it's almost a courtesy.
Yeah, that
kind of
really
thing.
represented the conversation we did have.
The other thing that we did was we were pulling out number 11.
You
on-
already did that. But what had happened is
Oh,
it
did
didn't
I?
make it into the policy, because Nancy went and said, I know we discussed this. Remember we were saying that? I
Yeah.
know we did that. And it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it wasn't,
Okay.
the right one was not uploaded.
So on the use of facilities, we had like number 11, it said to follow, any group would follow the health and wellness guidelines.
Remember we
And
talked
we
about that?
Yeah.
took that out,
There would
but
be
it's
no
already
food
been
in the
done,
It's
so
already
that's
been done,
great.
so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
just
okay,
made sure
good.
the right
Okay.
one's up there.
Okay, good.
For the folders, I always wondered, for the folders, for the stuff that's
Oh,
put in the
yeah.
folders, who makes the copies, who does the
The
business
person who
group
asks for permission
organization
does.
drops off however many copies?
That's right.
Okay.
They
But
always ask
we
how many people,
physically stuff it, the folders. though.
well, I was thinking you'd probably do like, the teachers get, copies of whatever.
Well, I don't
they-
know, when the PTA, like when I did it, I would have to, figure, it. Like I would get a number from
Right.
Margaret or
Each
Dr. Tanner
class,
and would say how many, so
Right.
I would put like, 25 in this mailbox, so
Okay.
that they would do it.
Right.
It's
But
not like
then-
our
But
staff
But stuffing
doing
in the
it.
folders
But then
probably
the
is-
actual stuffing of the folder is still our.
Yeah, then the teacher gets it out of her mailbox and then would,
Right, put it in.
yeah.
That's true. There was a little bit of work in that way. But since Margaret's been doing, what is that, the backpack or whatever, you know, you shouldn't be seeing as much of those flyers going home, because it kind of falls into that category.
Well, 'cause all that, if I understood that correctly, though, everything, the stuff in the folder was posted on the website.
That's what I thought too.
But not.
But are you saying a lot of things still come home in folder?
There hasn't been a lot of stuff in a while, I'll say. But I don't think that anything on the website has not already gone in the folder. At least that's not my understanding of. I thought the parent backpack was a way to, like, have an archive of stuff, not have another avenue of.
So I'd have to ask Margaret exactly.
Because if it is, I think we need to do. Because I looked at the backpack when it happened. I don't think I've been back because I looked at the folder. But if there's other stuff going on.
Yeah,
to the backpack
let me get clarification from that, but I thought Margaret was trying not to send as many things home.
Right.
To not overwhelm parents with like stuff they're probably not gonna look at. It was to post it in that backpack.
Right, okay. So on the This Week, there's a link to the backpack and it will say, go to the backpack to see blah, 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 like these 3 things.
So you could click on the individual flyer.
Yeah, I guess I've always assumed that whatever was in the This Week was also just then.
Also a paper copy.
Or no, not necessarily a paper copy, but was if it's in This Week, it goes on the website. So what's in the This Week is on the website, but what's on the website, they match, essentially, is what I'm saying. So that there would be something in the backpack that I haven't seen in the This Week.
Right.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that she takes the opportunity in that This Week to put it in there so people can click on if they want to look at it, as opposed to receiving, you know, a stack, you know, of.
Right. It's not a clickable link, though.
It's what?
It's not a clickable link.
Oh.
Through the email.
Didn't we? Who looked at that with
I
me?
don't, or it hasn't been that I've seen.
Oh, I thought we were looking at it the other day.
We were clicking on it.
Right.
Okay, so maybe it changed or something.
Well, could you let us know if you, next one you get, because when we looked at it on our phone, it had links, and we actually clicked on one and up it was. But let's make sure of that, because that wouldn't be helpful if it's if it's literally
type in this.
Type in the thing.
50 character,
Yeah. So that's what we talked about. I agree.
Okay, so negotiations, next meeting is on the 26th of April. Things seem to be moving along, well, which is good.
Were you gonna do an executive session tonight, did you think?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we just scheduled the food services one. I saw.
Yes, we did.
something
We
in
just
my
got a
calendar.
date.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember what it was, but we scheduled something.
Okay, good. Good.
Yes.
Public relations?
We had a meeting scheduled, but we didn't meet.
Okay. Oh, that was the other day and you guys canceled, right? Okay. Safety, Pam?
Yes, yes, we
Yeah,
met
maybe it
this
wasn't.
morning, and we had a nice long meeting.
It was
We
a
hadn't
long
met in a while due to snow days and that sort of thing. So we started out with the transportation report, and Vicki Lake from North Reading Transportation was there. They're in the process of route development. Has gotten information from Barry, and it says here Barry will set up online sign up soon, but he's already done it like that. Let's see, this will make the route scheduling much easier, better. Discipline on the Pembroke buses is getting better. We now have cameras in the back of the bus. And drivers have instructions to write students up who are not following expectations.
Should help around.
Let's see, school reports. We're happy to welcome.
Say we have a tissue.
Oh, there's a
Get a big bug on you.
I thought there was something. What kind of bug? What are you talking about? Thank you.
Nothing anymore.
Oh my God. What kind of bug?
It's a stink bug.
Oh, you didn't kill it, did you?
Yes.
You sure?
I didn't want to
It's supposed to let out.
All right, I just, what?
They're not called stink bugs for nothing.
Oh, I know, but I didn't want it to crawl up on you again.
Thank
or
you.
me.
Thank you so much, Barbie. Appreciate that.
Poor Pam's continuing along with her report.
And we're all focused on the bug.
Okay, Pam, resume. Now that we're all safe from the stink bug.
That's important, absolutely, yeah, no, I felt like there was something. All right, so we were very pleased to welcome new school resource officer.
Still talking about the book.
Laura Britton. I don't know if anyone else has met Laura Britton, but she seems absolutely
Would
wonderful.
you like to have her come
Our new
some
school resource
committee meetings?
officer.
Yeah,
who's
definitely.
Basically stationed at the middle high school.
Yeah.
She also does go to Pearlie, on a weekly
Yeah,
or
I think that would
maybe
be
a
great.
couple times a week or
I've
something.
heard great things about her.
Yes, she.
Very positive.
She
Yeah,
greets the
good.
students and families at drop off and pick off time, and she walks around the school in the lunchroom and does exterior and door sweeps. She has been to a fun lunch group with special education students. If one, and you know, the obvious is that if one school resource officer is out, then the other one can provide cover. She emails all issues and events to Chief Cudmore and Lieutenant Hatch. Her role is evolving. She's trying to get to know the staff who have insight as to what students would need, when and where and what. To continue her services, the town will need to vote for an override, a very small one, to cover her salary both at town meeting and on the May 14th ballot. Do we know exactly how much that would be?
I don't, what I think they said, if you had a $475,000
No, I think
house,
she's
It'd be like
asking.
$32.
$32
a
household,
year per
yeah.
household, but
But
what's
how
the
much is
total?
the, I don't.
Oh,
108?
well, no,
But
it
then-
isn't though, because
It doesn't she doesn't need the
her
training.
insurance, her insurance, her insurance won't be as expensive, so, you know, it's probably, you know, in the order of $100,000, but I don't know, cause I don't know what they're putting on the ballot for the override.
Okay, so we'll need to
figure
find that out.
We'll need to find that out.
Okay. So Officer Henry is coordinating the May 2nd mock crash at Georgetown Middle High School, which will focus on this year distracted driving and texting. I believe he was talking about in Kingston, a 22-year-old girl just drove into a pole, texting and driving, and died. That was a pretty recent
Yeah,
event.
it's very recent, yeah. Yeah, he was, part of their debriefing, he was gonna kinda share that
Yeah.
story as an example.
Yeah, so he's getting a lot of different organizations in town, including Conti's Funeral Home, and he's gonna be to coordinate this effort. We'll be voting at town meeting for the $88,000 for free cash for safety enhancements to the school, including the night lock for 600 doors, every door in the schools. The money, let's see. It'll also cover the lobby guard, which will require all visitors to provide ID. Margaret said, well, we still need to discuss after-school and weekend event security procedures. Let's see. Carol talked about her new safety task force, and which will be an advisory ad hoc committee, ad hoc not lasting forever. But a Guy and Hope will be on it, Amanda Harding, and Barbie has offered to be on it, and there'll be other people as well. The idea is to coordinate an overall plan for the town. This will include looking at communications, our emergency management plan, and updating the crisis manuals distributed to teachers and administrators. It seems that we do have a lot of different programs, but we don't want
They're not well
redundancy, and we want them to be consistent. We want them to all work together. And then we wanna see any holes in the plans that might not have been considered. And the crisis manual, that we distribute to each teacher with all this new equipment is gonna need to be updated, on many levels, I'm sure. Chief Fred Mitchell attended the monthly state fire chief meeting and feels certain we'll see a lot more collaboration between regional SROs and fire departments. And let's see, locally, some students refused to leave a school during fire drill due to the Parkland, but we want to be aware of this and proactive about it because it's not a safe practice. We'll have to teach students that. If there are any new procedures for fire drills, they'll be coming from the state, the fire marshal's office. Let's see. So that's about it there. I spoke about in Georgetown Cares is having a meeting on April 26th, and we've invited Tom Brow, who is a Seaside consultant, person who is managing and has up and running a vaping prevention and recovery program at the Belmont schools. He also in other schools as well. That's not the only school.
He was my history teacher.
Yes, in middle school.
Yeah, he was my middle school history teacher.
I hope you get to come and meet him. I'm sure he'd be delighted.
Isn't that funny?
Yes, yeah.
That is funny.
But you know, there's an article in the New York Times about how students are getting caught vaping and discipline procedures are being used, but then they end up in the same place. They end up vaping again, and they end up back in the assistant principal's office because they can't stop and they need help. And so what's the best way to help our students to either avoid this whole situation, or if they happen to fall into the practice, you know, to find their way to recovery and out when they want to. So it's called a vaping diversion program. They also have one at the Newburyport schools that they're using in-house. And I plan on calling, there's a person, Amy Heath there, and talking with her about their in-house program, and we can get some information. Maybe we could invite her to another meeting just to compare and contrast what Tom Brow has to offer with what she's doing. What does she feel it's effective? Just, you know, to talk about how to handle vaping situations. I think that's it. Can you think of anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Fred did point out that he wants to talk about the procedure with teachers. So he's probably gonna come to a faculty meeting or, because they set something up at the middle high school where Peter selected a student and told the student to go tell their teacher they smelled smoke in the second floor bathroom. What they were trying to see is what would happen, right? Because I told them what would happen. The person would call the office, and the office would, you know, tell the administration somebody'd pull the alarm. That's the wrong answer from Fred's perspective, right? Is that, you know, teachers need to feel empowered to, first of all, if somebody comes and tells you that, you go and you pull the alarm. And there are alarms at every door. We spent some time talking about the logistics of that. Why isn't that the first thing? And Guy spent some time explaining that sometimes people smell something and then they don't want to call 911 or pull the alarm if they don't know if it's just the psyche that people have. If I don't know it's something real.
I know, but that's like the see something, say something.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? If you smell smoke, then
exactly.
you're in
And
a building with
that's why we
children and
had
all
the
these
discussion,
staff.
and that's why Fred's going to come and talk, you know, to the teachers and listen to obviously the concerns about that. But you know, as a fire safety person, you know,
Sure.
he feels, and then the police were substantiating that they get calls all the time for 911 that turn out to be really nothing. But like you said, see something, say something. It's just a matter of, I mean, when we first did Alice, remember the teachers worried about, well, the liability and, you know, how that could work. Now, no one's worried about it. They know what they have to do. So I think it's one of those things, it's just a different way of approaching it. But it was interesting because I was there when we did it. And I'm standing with Peter and he's like, okay, where are they? Where are they? Because he was waiting for the alarm to be pulled. Sure enough, about 4 minutes later, the office got the call and the secretary was there taking the message and then basically pulled the alarm.
So the teacher
But
called the office to say it
to
instead
say,
of.
this is what happened.
Right.
And assuming they're gonna get one of the administrators, you know, who was gonna go check it out. Right, and so Fred's statistics are, you know, fire doubles in size
Double
in
every
60
60
seconds. You know, he had some
Wow.
very interesting information.
Was this recently?
They just did it geez, I lose track of time.
Sounds a lot like what
You know,
happened.
it sounded like,
last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was.
yeah, so it probably was, it was within
yeah.
the last 3 weeks, Barbie, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting that you say it, because somebody had said that they had smelled something at the middle high school yesterday.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that.
And the kids smelled it too, and then the teacher was like, yeah, the kid said to the teacher, oh, I smell something burning, and the teacher's like, oh, really, I don't smell anything. And then another teacher came into that classroom and said, I smell something burning. So the kids actually went into that classroom and you could smell it, But the teacher was like, yeah, but a lot of times I smell things through the vents.
Yeah, I
So
know.
I'm like, okay, so what happened? And they're like, nothing. I'm like, so no fire alarm was pulled or anything? I'm like, so what was the smell?
Was
So
that the burning of leaves nearby?
Yes,
well,
that's what it was, 'cause
that
they were
is
talking
what-
about that
that's
today.
right,
it is
Guy
burning
was talking
today,
about
and
it.
there
It
are
was
fires
the,
all
the
over the
windows,
place.
they all had
So
open the
it's
window.
like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly what, we use that
I mean,
as an
we don't have
example.
windows open would they be able to smell them through?
Well, I
See,
mean,
so
I
the
walked
point was
into-
there were smells they're used to, right? So they did, and then there were smells that might not. It's like Fred was like, you know what? If it's a smell that doesn't, just pull the alarm. We're happy to come. If it's nothing, it's nothing.
And great, yeah.
Yeah, but
But if it is something, you could save a life.
Yeah, and I said to Guy, who was representing
And that's what you pay taxes
the
for.
administration, I said to Guy, the problem is that's a lot of responsibility for you.
Yeah.
As the assistant
Yeah.
principal, right? That's a lot of responsibility for you, and, so we're gonna have.
Oh, jeez, where are these things coming from?
Flying around.
It's
didn't
gonna
know that
land
they
on
could
somebody.
fly. I have boys, that's nothing. But, so it was a very interesting discussion.
Not the same one, this one is.
It was a very interesting discussion, and I think, we were gonna follow through with Fred, so it was a perfect discussion for safety.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
Okay.
Are we gonna talk about the school calendar?
Well, no.
Do we need to do that?
I think the only thing somebody, I think it was you that brought it up about that, the parent conferences on the spring.
In the spring.
In the spring.
If it could be accommodated, that the next day be a PD day.
That's right, so we had that discussion, so we did do that, but the challenge on that day, which is March 5th, 14th and 15th, is that it's a elementary has conferences in the day, wait a minute, where is it? 14, let's just get this right. Elementary, early release, conferences in the afternoon and evening. So like, for example, because we always try to avoid those things that conflict with school committee. So like, for example, in that case, it's not a problem for Michael, it's not a problem maybe for Cheryl.
But it will be for
But it
Suzanne.
would be
and
for
Pam.
you three if you needed a conference, because the only option that you have on March 14th
Is evening.
So, I mean, we can handle it any way you want, because this is how we did it this year, if you remember. This is similar to exactly what we did. I couldn't remember when Barbie asked me the question, what was the driver there? Because I knew we always try to avoid this.
No, well, what it was is this
But it
past March, that's what happened, a school committee meeting, and I remember sending you out an
Yeah,
email
yeah.
and to Peter saying,
What happened? How
why, I've
But
asked that
that's
no
what it
school
was.
committee, and then Peter was like, oh, right.
I
That was
talked
my
about it with
mistake.
I talked about it with the administrative team and said, guys, like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
And Margaret reminded me that when we had this discussion about the calendar, the reason that happened is we were trying to, based on the conversation we had earlier, that Cheryl had raised a very good point, which is it would be nice for the teachers if they have to stay out late, then have the PD day, it'd be a little different pace. So that's why we did it. But, I mean, it can get changed. I mean, it's not a big deal, but.
Can we just move the school committee meeting to the 7th instead of the 14th?
Or we could
that
move
work?
it-
Just move it over
Or
to
we could
the
move the con-
13th.
Or
I don't think we want to touch the Friday, well, I don't know.
I think it would be easier though to, like Michael said, to move the school committee meeting.
Yeah, I
That's
do
like
too.
really-
Right?
I do too.
Because then that wouldn't
moving parts.
impasse
So where would
parents or
you want to
anything.
move it to, just the 13th?
Yeah, we could do the 13th,
Okay.
if it's available, if Nancy could check that.
All right. So March 13th would be school committee meeting, so
Yeah.
we would make that purple.
Yep.
And so then the 14th would,
Remain,
conference.
just all, yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If that works?
Okay.
Great. Okay.
So then nothing has to be.
Well, maybe you do need to make a motion to amend the
just change
calendar.
the-
Yeah, okay.
I'll make a motion to, make the changes to the 2018-2019 school year to reflect a school committee meeting on March 13th, 2019, in place of a school committee meeting on March 14th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think that's good. So at this time, I will make a motion to adjourn the open meeting. We do need to have an executive session this evening. So, make a motion to adjourn at, that clock is wrong.
That's so wrong.
Right, at 9:26 PM without returning to open session. We're going into executive session, chapter 30A, section 21, for the purpose of negotiation discussion. So I will need a roll call.
Aye.
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 Great. Thank you. Have a good night.